Marvel, I am a level 5 mutant, starting with Gojo Satoru. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26. Hello, I'm looking for Jin Bing. As an advanced method of the Kang technique, teleportation is based on the use of strong gravity to teleport instantly. However, its essence is not a space jump, but an illusion of space jump caused by extremely fast speed. During the action, Sumyu's body will move quickly until it reaches the marked end point. It is precisely because of this that the strong acceleration will cause him to be injured while using the power of spell manipulation and energy absorption to strengthen his body. If an ordinary person uses the same method to move, he will probably be crushed into pulp by the huge pressure immediately. At this time, Sumyu is standing 500 meters above the ground. There is no object in the sky at this height. At the same time, he can use the 6 eyes to clearly see the scene on the ground, even in the basement. So Sumyu chose to teleport here to search for the location of Kingpin. Controlling the repulsive force of the He technique reversal, Sumyu made a running start in the air. He grinned, and the blue power of spell wrapped him. His body instantly disappeared from the original place and appeared 1,000 meters away. After 30 seconds, he disappeared again. Inside Hell's Kitchen, in a dark alley, Spider-Woman solved a robbery, then flew out of the alley on a spider silk, continuing to look for traces of crime. Suddenly, as she was being pulled by the spider silk and swinging upwards, she suddenly discovered something in her peripheral vision. White hair, standing in the air, and vaguely visible azure pupils. White-haired demon. Why did he appear in Hell's Kitchen? Just as Gwen was about to go and confirm whether this was the white-haired demon, she suddenly found that the white-haired demon standing in the sky suddenly disappeared. Gwen immediately went to the top of the tallest building nearby through the spider silk to look for traces of the white-haired demon. With Spider-Woman's eyesight, she immediately found the white-haired demon that flashed every 30 seconds. He has awakened a new ability again. Gwen immediately realized something and was shocked, and at the same time she was deeply envious. After becoming Spider-Woman, Gwen was very happy. She gained extraordinary abilities that ordinary people do not have. But just after becoming Spider-Woman, she met the white-haired demon. Obviously, the white-haired demon's strength was not very strong at the beginning, but it became stronger at an unimaginable speed in the following time, while she was still standing still. The most important thing is that her ability is simple and violent. Except for the spider sense, the other abilities are not handsome at all. The white-haired demon's abilities, the azure black hole, the black and red singularity, are much stronger than her in both power and performance. This made Gwen very discouraged, and she became curious about the white-haired demon, the first person to know the true appearance of Spider-Woman. Why is he so strong? What is he doing now? Continuously using teleportation, each time with an interval of 30 seconds, this time is enough for him to recover from the injuries caused by teleportation, and to fully explore the surrounding environment without missing anything. As time passed, Sumyu searched most areas of Hell's Kitchen. Without any results, he gradually had a bad premonition. Could it be that Kingpin is not in Hell's Kitchen? But after teleporting again, a few seconds later, Sumyu showed a bright smile on his face, and then took another step out and came to a luxurious private club. This private club store is extremely luxurious, built on the best location in Hell's Kitchen. This area is located on the edge of Hell's Kitchen. The streets are cleaner and the security is better than those deeper in the kitchen, so that rich people who cherish their lives dare to come here to enjoy themselves. The door of the club is spacious and imposing, and the people coming in and out are all gentlemen in leather shoes, which is incompatible with Sumyu, who is wearing loose casual clothes. When Sumyu wanted to get closer, 2 security guards in suits at the door came forward and stretched out their hands to signal Sumyu to stop. Sir, this store is a high-end private club. You need to show an invitation letter and wear formal clothes to enter. After speaking, the security guard approached Sumyu and whispered in front of him, "Yellow monkey, get out of here, this is not the place you should come to." Sumyu stopped and clearly caught the undisguised sarcasm in the eyes of the security guard. He couldn't help but feel a little curious. His photo had been in the most prominent place in major newspapers and news for a long time. Could it be that the security guard in front of him didn't recognize him and dared to mock him? However, he had no intention of explaining. Instead, he showed a bright smile to the security guard who offended him, and then slowly said, "Please notify me, I'm looking for Jin Bing." The security guard was stunned, and finally couldn't help laughing. "Ha ha ha, who do you think you are? Dye your hair white, and then wear the same sunglasses. Do you really think you are a white-haired devil?" Another security guard also sneered. "It seems that we have to teach this guy a lesson and make him sober up." A gorgeously dressed woman who was just about to enter the club took the arm of an old man who was at least 70 years old and saw this scene, and laughed at Sumyu. "Husband, look, this yellow-skinned monkey actually wants to enter the private club. Doesn't he know that only big shots like you can enter? Hey, throw him out quickly, don't pollute our eyes." The old man on the side looked at Sumyu with disgust, and then said sternly to the two security guards, "Get rid of him quickly." The two security guards who were bossing Sumyu around immediately lowered their heads and said humbly, "Don't worry, customer, we will deal with him right away." Sumyu looked at this scene and smiled slightly. Under the gaze of the six eyes, Jin Bing was locked by him and there was no possibility of escape, so he had the leisure to play with a few people in front of him. Seeing several security guards swinging their fists at him and punching his cheek, Sumyu was unmoved and watched the funny scene in front of him with a smile. Suddenly, the whole audience fell silent. When the fists of the two security guards landed 10 centimeters in front of the white-haired man, they stopped immediately and could not move forward, as if blocked by an invisible barrier. The faces of the two security guards who punched Sumyu turned pale visibly, and the gorgeous woman and the old man beside him also realized what the scene in front of them meant. He's really a white-haired devil. Not just an imitator. The gorgeous girl screamed in fear, thinking of her offense to the white-haired devil just now, and hurriedly fled to a distance, leaving the trembling old man beside her. The old man who was left there had his legs softened and lay on the ground. Turbid liquid slowly flowed out of his crotch, emitting a foul smell. He only saw the white-haired demon in front of him stretching out his palm towards the fleeing woman, then slightly clenching it, and the woman who had already fled dozens of meters away was crushed to the ground by the huge gravity, accompanied by the creepy crackling of bones and the piercing wailing of pain, and was slowly crushed into meat paste. Sumyu retracted his hand, smiled kindly at the two security guards who were dazed in front of him, and repeated, "I'm looking for Jin Bing." Then he saw the two security guards immediately running into the hall and shouting, "I'll notify you right away, please wait a moment." Just as they were about to walk into the door and thought they had escaped, they suddenly heard the demons whisper from behind, "Forget it, I'll go by myself." The terrifying repulsive force came from behind, and the two security guards were immediately blown away by the huge force, like two shells smashing into a private club, hitting several unlucky guys, splashing scarlet blood mist, and died. Then Sumyu walked into the clinic door and suddenly poked his head out from behind the door. "Sorry, I almost forgot about you." The noble old man outside the door didn't have time to stop smiling after surviving a disaster, and was twisted into a knot by the terrifying gravity. Blood flowed down his body and continued to spread. After doing the last thing, Sumyu finally walked into the club and smiled brightly at the many armed gang members who were waiting in front of him. "Hello, I'm looking for Jin Bing." Chapter 27 I am too kind and cannot bear to see such tragedy in the world. Seeing the white-haired demon who broke into the club, many armed gang members hesitated to shoot, as if it was not them who were fully armed at this time, but the young man in front of them with a bright smile. They naturally knew the horror of the white-haired demon. Whether it was from the 3 news that shocked the world before, or the 2 security guards who just flew into the club at high speed and killed several unlucky people, and now only had broken bodies left, they all showed the power of the white-haired demon with absolute facts. Seeing that the many gang members in front of him did not respond, Sumyu sighed, lowered his head slightly, and his face was covered by the shadow of the light. Only the corners of his mouth gradually showed a cold smile. "Then I'll go find him myself." Hearing this, one of the gang members could no longer bear the pressure, pressed the trigger, and shot wildly. The others heard the sudden sharp gunshots, and were so stimulated in their tense state that they subconsciously shot at Sumyu. Countless ammunition flew towards Sumyu like a rain curtain, but when they fell within a 10-centimeter range around him, they stopped and could not get close to him at all. After the strange phenomenon appeared, a gang member immediately recognized that this was the signature ability of the white-haired demon. No lower limit technique. No, the white-haired demon can never be defeated. I don't want to die. He could no longer face the white-haired demon. Facing the fear of death, he dropped the rifle in his hand and wanted to escape. Since the first gang member dropped his gun and ran away, Other gang members immediately followed. They knew more or less about the horror of the white-haired demon from the news, and naturally knew that in the eyes of the white-haired demon, they were no different from ants. Ignoring the number, it can be easily crushed to death. Seeing the many gang members fleeing in all directions, Sumu grinned, and a huge repulsive force suddenly erupted from around his body. The yellow bullets floating around returned at a faster speed than when they came. Countless bullets exceeded the speed of sound, accompanied by a piercing sound of breaking through the air, and hit one body after another. In just a moment, most of the gang members were killed by random bullets, and the remaining gang members lay on the bright and glowing floor and kept howling. Sumu couldn't bear to hear these screams, so he clenched his hand forward and said, "Spell Kang." A dark blue black hole appeared out of thin air, attracting everything nearby. The black hole created by the LV3 spell Kang was several times larger than that of LV2. At this time, the size of the black hole had grown from the size of a basketball to 1 meter, and the attraction it emitted was also several times stronger than before, sucking in all the gang members who were dead or incapacitated around them. The screams around him stopped immediately. Sumu also couldn't bear to see the bloody scene in front of him, so the 1-meter-sized dark blue black hole quickly rotated around him, attracting everything nearby. The luxurious club that originally stood there disappeared in an instant, replaced by a huge circular pit. On the glowing floor in the center of the circular pit, which was still intact, the white-haired demon straightened his back, put his right hand in his pocket, and stroked his soft white hair with his left hand and moved it upwards, revealing his exquisite dark blue eyes. But at this moment, those eyes were full of coldness. The customers who were lucky enough to escape and couldn't stop trembling in the distance heard the white-haired devil in the ruins smile with satisfaction. "It's still so comfortable. It turns out that I am too kind and can't stand the tragedy of the world." The surviving customers. "Do you want to hear what you are saying?" Sumu continued to move forward. According to the detection of the 6 eyes, Jin Bing had already escaped for a distance, but it was not difficult to catch up with him at this speed. With one step, the figure disappeared from the original place and passed through hundreds of meters of ruins to the street. He used the technique of reversal heat to create a repulsive force equal to gravity, walking in the air in the sky. Every step he took appeared dozens of meters away. After a while, he saw an armored car driving at high speed in the distance. The 6 eyes emitted a brilliant aura, which could be seen clearly even in the dazzling sunlight. Then he stretched out his palm to make a pistol gesture, pointed his index finger in the direction of the armored car, and whispered with a flashing black and red singularity, "Bang!" Jin Bing sat behind the armored car. Even the armored car made of special materials that could resist rocket attacks could not give him any sense of security. Facing an opponent like a god, if it were not for the iron will tempered by years of experience, he would have collapsed by now. But he is not immortal after all. Even if he knows that it is almost impossible to escape, he will definitely try. Moreover, they are not absolutely powerless to resist. Jin Bing looked behind him with deep eyes. "I just hope that the device purchased at a cost of billions of dollars can work, otherwise." The armored car accelerated, and 2 rows of thrusters extended from the rear of the car, driving forward at a faster speed. Just when Sumu was about to solve Jin Bing directly, he suddenly heard a harsh sound of electricity in his ears, and then found that the energy in his body suddenly lost control and became disordered, and he fell from a height of tens of meters. What happened? However, on the way down, with a refined control of the 6 eyes, he immediately regained control of the energy in his body. When he was about to stand in the air again, he suddenly found 2 figures rushing towards him from 2 different directions. "Ha ha ha, white-haired demon, you are just an ordinary person without your mutant ability. The achievement of killing the white-haired demon will be won by me, the Wanderer." On the other side, a beautiful figure flew over with a spider silk, shouting loudly, "Be careful." Seeing this scene, Sumu immediately realized what happened, and then showed a smile full of evil taste. He did not continue to use repulsion to stand in the air, but let his body fall naturally. And he also found that the armored car in the distance actually stopped at the same time, and it looked like it wanted to return. Then give them a surprise. After seeing the white-haired demon, Spider-Woman rushed towards him quickly. Just when she was about to get close, she suddenly found that the Wanderer in a black tights suddenly pressed a button behind the white-haired demon, and the harsh sound of electricity immediately resounded throughout the surrounding area. The godlike white-haired demon in the sky suddenly stopped, and the black and red singularity that was about to be launched also disappeared, and fell rapidly downwards. It was obvious that the harsh sound of the electric current just now did something to the white-haired demon, which caused this situation. Then she found that the Wanderer used sharp claws to rush towards the white-haired demon who had no power to resist it this time, and his tone was full of cruelty. So she sped up and kicked the Wanderer away when he was about to kill the white-haired demon. Then she held Sumu in her arms while panting violently. Only then did she relax and said, "Fortunately, I almost missed it." At the same time, Sumu, who felt the two soft balls, also breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Fortunately, the fun was almost gone. Please read and collect it! Exclamation mark. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28: The White Devil Who Lost His Mutant Powers? Gwen carefully put Sumu on the ground and asked with concern, "What's wrong with you? Why did you suddenly fall from the sky?" Sumu showed off his exquisite acting skills, controlling his body with a sophisticated manipulation of 6 eyes. His expression and body details were flawless. No, why did my mutant ability suddenly disappear?" The Wanderer in the distance heard Sumu's helpless words and laughed. Ha, you didn't expect it. We purchased a mutant suppression device secretly developed by the military. Now your mutant ability will be suppressed for at least 1 hour. Within this hour, you are no different from ordinary people, and 1 bullet can kill you. And I, the Wanderer, am the one who kills the devil. As soon as the words fell, the Wanderer turned into an afterimage and rushed towards Sumu at a high speed, but was stopped by Gwen. Seeing Spider-Woman who stopped him, Prowler said coldly, "It's you again, Spider-Woman. This time I'll kill you and the white-haired devil together." The next moment, the two of them fought each other. There was no winner for a short time, but it was only temporary. Several figures in the distance were rushing towards this place at a high speed. They should also be Kingpin's men. Sumu saw several familiar figures among them: Tombstone, a supervillain who was invulnerable and had the ability to heat the surface; Scorpion, a supervillain who was wearing high-tech armor like Prowler; and Dr. Octopus, a female with 4 high-tech mechanical tentacles welded behind him. Gwen also saw the 3 supervillains coming. She kicked Prowler away, used spider silk to wrap him around the street lamp, and then hugged Sumu and fled away on the spider silk. "How long will it take you to recover?" Spider-Woman tried to shake off the supervillain behind her, but she had to avoid the shooting of a large number of gang members who suddenly appeared, so she couldn't pull away, but got closer. Hearing Gwen's words, Sumu smiled nonsensically. "I don't know. It will probably take some time, but it is possible that it will recover in the next moment." Hearing Sumu's nonsensical words, Gwen was so angry that she wanted to abandon the white-haired demon, but thinking that the white-haired demon had saved her before, the kind-hearted Gwen still didn't do it. She said unhappily, "Can you be more serious? If they catch up with you, you will be dead." Sumu looked innocent. "What I said is all true. The mutant suppression device can only suppress Sumu's ability as a mutant. Except for energy absorption, other abilities have not disappeared and can still be used. And energy absorption is also recovering at a very fast speed. It can be fully recovered in about 5 minutes, which is far less than the 1 hour mentioned by the Wanderer. So what he and Gwen said was not wrong. He can use his abilities at any time. Isn't this possible to recover at any time?" The kind-hearted Gwen certainly didn't know that she was being teased by the hateful white-haired man. At this time, she no longer had the extra energy to communicate with Sumu, because all the villains caught up with her. Tisk. With the help of his companions, the Prowler broke free from the spider silk. At this time, he was the fastest and caught up with Spider-Woman. He used a flying knife to cut off Spider-Woman's spider silk, so that Sumu and the others fell to the ground and were surrounded by many supervillains. Seeing so many supervillains, Gwen was immediately under great pressure, but she was still optimistic. "Oh, the situation is very bad, I don't know what to do." Sumu, who was held in Gwen's arms, cheered, "Believe in yourself, you can do it. If it doesn't work, I'll still be there for you." Before Gwen could say anything, the Prowler mocked, "White-haired demon, you can't even protect yourself without your mutant ability, and you still want to protect others? You can't protect anything." The Scorpion, who was wrapped in exoskeleton armor, looked at Sumu with a mocking look on his face. Is he the white-haired demon? That's all. Little spider, white-haired boy, it's time to die. The mechanical limbs of the scorpion's lower body stretched out at the same time, and then rushed towards Sumu and the others. The tail needle behind him raised up and suddenly stabbed at Gwen, trying to kill her and Sumu together. Gwen had just dodged the attack of the scorpion's tail needle when she was hit by Dr. Octopus's mechanical tentacles and was knocked out. Sumu, who had been hugged by her, was also knocked out and separated from her. Sumu used the physical strength of an ordinary person to land steadily, and then immediately stood up and looked at the sky in the distance. In the side of the Six Eyes, a helicopter had been hovering 10 kilometers away from here. At that distance, even with the vision of the level 3's Six Eyes, only a vague shadow could be seen. If it weren't for Sumu's intuition telling him that he was being monitored by a distant aircraft at this time, he would probably not be able to detect it at all. Sumu gradually became impatient. The helicopter had been there for a long time, and it was highly likely that it would not get closer. Gwen, who was attacked by several supervillains in the distance, fell into an absolute disadvantage and could not take care of Sumu at the same time. The Wanderer came in front of Sumu and said to him with a grim smile, "The arrogant white-haired devil is going to die here. I believe today will be the fourth piece of news that shocks the world." Seeing that Sumu did not take him seriously at this moment, but looked into the distance, the feeling of being ignored made the Wanderer extremely angry. "How arrogant, but it's better this way, your screams will make me even happier." The Wanderer rushed towards Sumu, but before he could get close, Gwen appeared again and stood in front of Sumu. "Maybe you don't have a chance to kill him." Looking at the injuries on Gwen's body, the Wanderer showed a cruel smile. "No, you will all die here." A purple light lit up under the Wanderer's feet, and his already amazing speed increased again, and he rushed towards Sumu and the others. Gwen wanted to pull Sumu to dodge, but the injury left behind suddenly flared up, and her body froze for a moment. In this moment of delay, the Prowler appeared in front of her and stabbed her abdomen with its sharp claws. Go to hell. The claws were too close to Gwen, and even with Spider-Woman's agility, it was impossible to dodge. Gwen could only watch the claws approach, about to pierce her abdomen, and then kill her and the white-haired demon together. But at this moment, Gwen suddenly felt her eyes blurred, and she found a tall figure blocking her in front of her, and then she heard an impatient magnetic voice from the front. "It seems that it will not get closer. It's boring, wasting my time." Then Gwen saw the white-haired man who suddenly appeared and stretched his hand forward, and the Prowler's body immediately stopped in front of him. The white-haired man gently waved his arms, and a strong repulsive force erupted. Everything in front of him, including the Prowler's body, was blown away by the huge force. Gwen stared blankly at the Wanderer who was crushed into pulp by the huge force, and then at the fan-shaped ruins dozens of meters long in front of her. She swallowed unconsciously, and finally heard the man in front of her muttering, "Tisk tisk tisk, have Kingpin and the helicopter started to escape? This won't do, it looks like we have to speed up and get rid of these people. Please read and collect it." Exclamation mark. Chapter 29, Killing Jin Bing. Scorpion, Dr. Octopus and Tombstone in the distance were stunned, not understanding what happened. Wasn't the white-haired demon's mutant ability temporarily suppressed? Why did he recover in less than an hour? Among them, Tombstone, who had the superpower of being invulnerable, couldn't stop shaking all over. He looked at the huge fan-shaped ruins in front of him, the corpse of the Wanderer who had no human form, and his right arm that disappeared just because of the aftermath of the attack. "Ah!" He screamed in pain immediately after realizing it, and a lot of blood gushed out of his broken arm. His previously indestructible body could not give him any sense of security. He instinctively wanted to escape from here, but after taking a step, he found that one of his legs had also disappeared. The next moment, he immediately lost balance and fell to the ground. Dr. Octopus and Scorpion, who were farther away, did not suffer much damage, but were scratched by scattered stone chips. But they seemed to be seriously injured, and dared not move at all. They stared at the scene in front of them dully, looking at Tombstone, who was crippled just by the aftermath of the attack. As supervillains working for Kingpin, even though their relationship is not friendly, they still recognize Tombstone's strength. His invulnerable body and the superpower of high temperature on his body's surface allow him to exert extremely strong combat capabilities, and even they can't do anything to him. But how could he be in such a miserable state just by being hit by the aftermath? Where are your superpowers? Where is your indestructible body that you are proud of? As smart people, they immediately knew the current situation. Facing the white-haired demon with mutant powers, they are no match at all. Run. Run quickly. It will be too late if you don't run. However, just when Dr. Octopus and Scorpion turned around, they stopped again and dared not move at all. Gwen looked at the scene in front of her. Even though she had seen it in the report of the Global Daily, she could feel the greatness of this power even more after being there. Is this the true strength of the white-haired demon? What has he experienced during this period of time, and why has he grown so fast? Just when she wanted to ask the white-haired demon a question, she suddenly found that the white-haired demon came in front of him, put his hand on her head, and a magnetic voice came from the front of him at the same time. "Thank you, Spider-Man, leave it to me next." After the words fell, Gwen saw the white-haired demon take a step forward, disappear from the original place, and instantly appear in front of the female Dr. Octopus and Scorpion who wanted to escape, showing a bright smile to the two of them. "You two, you haven't returned the gift yet, don't rush to leave." Before the voice fell, Sumu stretched out his palm to the Scorpion, and a strong attraction emanated from his palm, attracting the Scorpion. The Scorpion showed despair on his face, and then showed determination, using sharp limbs and sharp tail needles to attack the white-haired demon at the same time. Even if he was destined to die, he would make the white-haired demon pay the price. Now that the white-haired demon has just recovered, maybe his mutant ability cannot be perfectly controlled. This is his chance. And his tail needle and limbs are both highly toxic. As long as he hits the white-haired demon, there may be a glimmer of hope. However, he only felt a flash of azure light before his eyes, and then he found that the white-haired demon was holding a huge tail needle, stabbing at his head. Looking at the body again, the tail needle and 6 thick limbs at the tail disappeared from the armor, scattered around, and pierced into the surrounding ground. The largest tail needle appeared in the hand of the white-haired demon, and the flashing cold needle was aimed at his head. He was about to say something, but his head was pierced, and a lot of blood gushed out, floating 10 centimeters in front of Sumu and motionless. After dealing with the Scorpion, Sumu looked at the female Dr. Octopus and found that during the time he dealt with the Scorpion, she had come hundreds of meters away. This distance is extremely difficult to hit even with a sniper rifle, but for him with 6 eyes, it is easy. A coin was thrown by him, and then floated in front of his index finger. Black and red lightning burst out from the fingertips, giving the coin an initial velocity several times the speed of sound. Before the coin melted due to air friction, it instantly hit the back of the female Dr. Octopus. The coin with powerful kinetic energy was wrapped in a sonic boom, cutting her body in half. After flying for hundreds of meters, it completely melted in the air. Then Sumu took another step forward and appeared in front of the tombstone crawling on the ground. When the tombstone looked up tremblingly, he found a shadow falling from the sky, and his consciousness immediately turned into nothingness. After crushing the head of the tombstone, Sumu turned back and smiled brightly at Gwen, took a step forward and appeared tens of meters high in the air, pacing towards the armored car in the distance. On the armored car, Kingpin sat there with a gloomy face. The mutant suppression device purchased at a cost of billions of dollars could only suppress the white-haired demon for a few minutes. Is the white-haired demon too powerful? Or was he deceived? Damn it, damn it. Suddenly, he saw a white-haired young man appear in the armored car in front of him, smiling brightly at him. It was the white-haired demon. The next moment, the expensive armored car hit the suddenly appearing white-haired demon and stopped immediately. Under the pressure of the huge kinetic energy, the front half of the car body shrank quickly. The driver only had time to let out a scream before he was flattened, and a lot of blood splashed on Jinbing's face. Then he heard a sharp metal tearing sound. Snap! With the white-haired man's hands exerting force, the entire armored train was torn in half, and his body was exposed to the devil. Jinbing immediately picked up his pistol and shot at the white-haired devil, but the bullets and the driver's blood splash all stayed in front of the white-haired devil and could not move forward. Seeing this scene, he calmed down completely and said in a low voice, "I was wrong about what happened before. I am willing to use all my assets in exchange for my life." But the white-haired devil did not respond, and continued to slowly approach. Every footstep seemed to step on Jinbing's heart, causing his heart to stop. Jinbing was obviously more anxious, and immediately continued, "If I die, all those assets will be frozen, and you can't get them at all. That's tens of billions of dollars in assets." But the footsteps didn't stop until they came to him. Then he saw a white palm stopped in front of him. Before he wanted to say anything else, a terrifying pressure came from it, directly plunging him into eternal darkness. A large amount of unknown flesh and blood tissue floated around Sumyu's body, and then was pushed around by the huge repulsive force, dyeing a large area nearby red. Sumyu grinned. If you have an obelisk, an infinite gem, a frost box, an eternal gun, an eternal fire, or an eye of Agamotto, I can torture you and let you live a little longer. But no matter how much money a mortal has, it's useless to me. Then he took another step forward, disappeared on the spot, and flew towards the helicopter in the distance at high speed. Please read and collect it! Exclamation mark. Chapter 30. He stands in the sky, looking down on everything. In the helicopter in the distance, several researchers in white research suits kept recording the precious data they had just observed. These data were important weapons against the white-haired devil in the future, and they must not be lost. The leading researcher dialed the number and the call was connected immediately. An impatient hoarse voice came from the other end. How is it? The researcher's tone revealed an excitement that could not be concealed. Colonel Stryker, it's a success. The mutant suppression device is also effective against the white-haired demon. Although it can only suppress him for a few minutes, as long as it is improved, this time will be greatly increased. By then, as long as the mutant suppression device is used on the white-haired demon, he will become an ordinary mortal for a long time. Good, good, good. Hearing the news, Stryker was ecstatic, and even a stiff smile was squeezed out on his face, which had not changed for thousands of years. It seems that the nuclear bomb plan does not need to be implemented. To deal with a mere white-haired demon, the mutant suppression device is enough. Transfer all the data over, and from now on, start the research and development of the white-haired demon suppression device immediately. Yes. At this moment, Stryker suddenly heard a noisy quarrel coming from the opposite side. What happened? Then he heard the researcher's trembling voice. Quick, quick, turn on the mutant suppression device and give us time to escape. Colonel Stryker, the white-haired demon is chasing us. What? Hearing this news, Stryker was stunned and couldn't believe what he heard. The white-haired demon could actually detect a helicopter 10 kilometers away. What does this mean? This means that the white-haired demon's perception ability is even more terrible than he imagined, and it can at least observe things 10 kilometers away. This also means that the nuclear bomb plan has almost completely failed, because with the speed of the white-haired demon, as long as it finds a nuclear bomb 10 kilometers away, it can easily dodge. The nuclear bomb will no longer pose a threat to him. Damn, when did the white-haired demon awaken his perception ability again? Is there no limit to his ability? Exclamation mark. Don't worry, transmit the data over. You have a mutant suppression device, and it's not difficult to escape. Stryker comforted the researchers, wanting them to quickly transmit the information about the white-haired demon. His main purpose is still for the information. After the information is in hand, these researchers will lose their value. But what he said was also what he thought. As long as the researchers with a mutant suppression device could temporarily suppress the mutant ability of the white-haired demon, they could easily escape. However, a desperate shout came from the headset afterwards. He stopped 5 kilometers away. At such a long distance, the current version of the mutant suppression device can't affect him at all. No, he is attacking us. It's that weird black and red singularity. Ah! After a scream, the communication was immediately cut off. Stryker was silent. It seemed that the white-haired demon had discovered the existence of the mutant suppression device, so he used the black and red singularity to kill the researchers at a distance. This also meant that the white-haired demon would be on guard against the suppression device in the future. However, this also meant another thing, that is, the white-haired demon was still affected by the suppression device. As long as his ability was successfully suppressed, the white-haired demon would no longer be a threat. Looking at the few letters on the screen in front of him that had been transmitted, Stryker showed a ferocious smile. He continued to teleport through the Kang technique, approaching the helicopter at a high speed. Not long after, the helicopter appeared in Sumyu's sight again. He did not approach the helicopter because he guessed that there should also be a mutant suppression device on the helicopter. Although after his ability was suppressed, he, who had 6 eyes, remembered the energy flow in his body when it was suppressed, and could remanipulate the energy in his body and get rid of the suppression at the moment when his mutant ability was suppressed, but he still did not intend to approach the helicopter. Create a weakness for yourself, and then wait for the enemy to use this weakness to attack him. I believe that the enemy's reaction at that time will be very pleasing. Sumu stopped in the air. At this time, this position was about 5 kilometers away from the helicopter, which was also the farthest effective distance of the suppression device he observed with his 6 eyes. He stretched out his palm, put his index and middle fingers together and pointed at the helicopter. The spell power was running, and a black and red singularity quickly formed in front of him. With a slight lifting of his fingers, the terrifying black and red singularity flew out at a high speed, forming a black and red ray visible to the naked eye in the air. The spell was reversed. The terrifying black and red ray cut through the sky, leaving a strange colored meteor trail in the sky, and then the loud noise of breaking the sound barrier enveloped the entire New York. Almost everyone looked up at the sky at the same time. They saw a gorgeous black meteor carrying death, flying straight towards a poor and helpless helicopter. Boom! Under the gaze of everyone who could see this scene, the helicopter was instantly shattered by the terrifying black meteor and turned into an inconspicuous flame. The black meteor continued to fly forward, piercing the air, splitting the clouds, sinking into the suburbs outside the city, splashing up a huge dust. Finally, the dust slowly dissipated, leaving a huge circular depression. It's the white-haired demon. It's the white-haired demon. People immediately recognized this strongest mutant who has dominated the news recently, and the whole city suddenly fell into chaos. The white-haired demon can actually fly. Is there really no limit for a level 5 mutant? His strength seems to have become stronger again. Where is the government? Where's the military? Did they say that they have formulated a perfect plan to deal with the white-haired demon? In an empty warehouse in New York, you can see the black meteor and the white-haired demon standing in the air. Polaris stared at the scene in front of her blankly, and immediately recalled the scene when she met the white-haired demon before. Those extremely cold eyes released an incomparable sense of oppression. Even though her ability was already powerful among mutants, she still had no power to resist the white-haired demon. Especially his ruthless words, which made her remember deeply, and let her know from that time that if she wanted to make mutants rise, she could not rely on others, but only on herself. At this moment, Polaris's companions exclaimed, "Look, that's the mutant ability of the white-haired demon. Wow, so cool. Is this the strongest mutant at present? We must also work hard to help the great white-haired demon in the future battle with humans. Under his leadership, mutants will eventually gain freedom." Polaris hesitated, not knowing whether to tell the cruel facts to the companions around her. In front of the white-haired demon, even if they are all mutants and the same kind, but they are just ants like ordinary humans. That man, he stood in the sky, looking down on everything. At the same time, Sumu, who was standing in the void high in the sky, heard the system's prompt, "Spell reversal he experienced +1 congratulations, your skill spell reversal he has been upgraded. Please read this and please collect it." Chapter 31 An invitation from the X-Men. Spell reversal he level 2, 1/300, generates repulsive force with he as the center. The minimum power is twice that of Kang, and the maximum output is positive infinity, similar to a small supernova. A lot of information poured into Sumu's mind, and his experience with his spell reversal he increased rapidly. Sumu used the spell reversal he again, and a black and red singularity formed above his index finger, growing from the size of a mung bean to the size of a ping-pong ball, and the repulsive force it emitted also increased several times. Looking at the black and red singularity on his fingertips, Sumu couldn't help but miss the Hulk and the Abomination before. In all the battles he had experienced, their feel was the best. That solid and durable feeling is still unforgettable to him. Wait, I eavesdropped on the conversation between Calson and Nicho Fury before. A strange meteorite crater appeared in New Mexico, and a hammer that no one could pick up was located in the center of the crater. Doesn't this mean that the hammer god has been exiled by Odin and has come to Earth now? Presumably, the hammer god who has regained his power should be more durable, and the destroyer armor controlled by Loki is even more durable. They will be good targets. Sumu's mouth curled up a barely detectable arc. New fun, here it is. Find Spider-Woman again. She is no longer in the same position as before, but on a tall building. Although he would never be in danger if Spider-Woman didn't help him, Sumu was still very grateful to Spider-Woman for helping him. If it weren't for her help, the fact that he was not affected by the mutant suppression device could not be concealed, which would undoubtedly make him lose a lot of fun. Thank you for your help. I will give you a gift next time we meet to express my gratitude. Gwen was curious about what the powerful white-haired demon's gift would be. Then she heard the charming demon gentleman smile mysteriously. "Keep looking forward to it, I believe you will like it very much." Gwen wanted to say something, but she saw the white-haired demon take a step and disappear in front of her. It was not until the figure of the white-haired demon disappeared from her that she remembered that she had forgotten to ask the white-haired demon why he became stronger so quickly. "Then wait until the next time we meet, I am really looking forward to it." Gwen hummed a song, jumped down from the tall building, and left on the spider silk. Sumiu did not rush to New Mexico immediately, but came to a high-end restaurant to taste food. He was still at level 3 and could not use energy to replace food, but he should be able to do it at level 4. However, even if he could use energy to maintain his life functions, he would not refuse to eat. Eating was undoubtedly a great enjoyment. With Sumiu's appetite now, it would cost tens of thousands of dollars to eat in a high-end restaurant, but this money was just a drop in the bucket for him now, and he did not take it to heart. As his strength gradually became stronger, it became easier and easier for him to get money. After leaving the restaurant, Sumiu was about to go to New Mexico to find the Hammer God for some fun, when he suddenly found several familiar figures in front of him. Compared with the movie, these people looked a little different. If they were not obvious and gathered together, Sumiu might not be able to recognize them. That's right, the people standing in front of Sumiu and blocking his way were members of the X-Men. Among them was Professor X, a kind old man sitting in a wheelchair, who had a strong telepathic ability. Behind him, Cyclops wearing special sunglasses helped him push the wheelchair, and next to him were the red-haired Phoenix and the white-haired Storm. "X-Men? What do you want to see me for?" Sumiu asked in confusion. Apart from having the same enemy Stryker, he had no contact with the X-Men. Professor X looked at the white-haired young man in front of him with a solemn look on his face. In his perception, the young man in front of him was empty, as if he didn't exist at all. He couldn't sense the consciousness of the young man in front of him at all, just like an ant standing on an elephant and not seeing the elephant. Because it was an endless land for it. The moment he saw the white-haired demon, Professor X knew that the young man in front of him was a more terrifying existence than Jean. Even when facing Jean, he could sense the existence of Jean's spirit, but when facing the white-haired demon, his ability was completely ineffective. Hearing Sumiu's question, Professor X showed a kind look, and then slowly said, "Child, I want to invite you to join Xavier's School for Gifted Youth. The children in this school are mutants like you. If you join the school, you will never be alone again. And your current situation is very dangerous. The government and the military have already drawn up a plan against you. Even if your mutant ability is very strong, you are still not their opponent. Join us, and the X-Men will negotiate with the government and the military to help you cancel the wanted list." The three Cyclops around looked at Sumiu confidently. They were all sure that if the white-haired demon was not a fool, he would definitely agree to join Xavier's School for Gifted Youth. First, they are all mutants, and they know the feeling of being hated by others around them after becoming mutants, and the loneliness of being abandoned by the whole world. Mutants desire their own kind. Second, the white-haired demon was wanted by the government and the military. Although he was very powerful, facing the full pursuit of the military and the government, and facing the attacks of a large number of mutants of different types, even he was definitely not an opponent. When facing the pursuit team sent by Stryker before, the white-haired demon was almost killed. I think he definitely understood this. As long as the white-haired demon was brought to Xavier's School for Gifted Teenagers, the professor would educate him and change his current violent character. At that time, the X-Men will have a very powerful fighting force. Cyclops and others are looking forward to that day. However, the response of the white-haired demon shattered their self-righteous fantasy and made them realize that they had never understood the white-haired demon. "Sorry, I don't feel lonely, and I'm not interested in joining Xavier's School for Gifted Teenagers." Cyclops looked at the white-haired demon in disbelief. He didn't expect him to say such a thing. This was completely incomprehensible to him, who was called a monster by his classmates after awakening his mutant ability. If you don't stay with mutants, won't you be called a monster by others? Won't you be hated by others? And what about the arrest by the military? Even you can't face the attacks of so many mutants whose specific abilities are unknown. Then he saw the corner of the white-haired demon's mouth gradually raised with an arc, and this arc became bigger and bigger until it became unscrupulous. Ha ha ha. They insult me, kill. They chase me, kill. They condemn me, still kill. I believe that as the death toll increases, they will gradually realize their mistakes, change their minds, and finally draw such a conclusion. The white-haired demon is an upright and kind legal citizen. Please read and collect it. Exclamation mark. Chapter 32 Black Phoenix, White Devil, you are too extreme. You. Cyclops looked at Sumu in astonishment. He didn't expect the White Devil to say such a thing. You are really a devil. Phoenix and Storm were also shocked to see the White Devil in front of them. Looking at the unbridled smile on his face and the cold blue eyes, goosebumps had already spread all over their bodies without them realizing it. This time, they finally understood what the professor said. If they left the White Devil alone, it would eventually lead to irreversible consequences. Even though they knew that the White Devil had gradually fallen into the wrong path, Professor X was still shocked when he heard the White Devil's unbridled words. He even felt a sense of fear from the bottom of his heart, and even his soul was trembling slightly. He can't be allowed to go on, otherwise, in the near future, he will be a walking disaster. Thinking of what is likely to happen in the future, Professor X's face suddenly became serious, and he said in a deep voice, Sumu, you have already stepped into the wrong path, and you can't continue to fall. You have enough power to subvert the world, and this power should be used on the right path, not just killing. Killing can't solve the problem, it will only make the problem more complicated and more anxious, and thus fall into a more irreversible situation. Cyclops, Storm and Phoenix on the side all nodded deeply. They very much agree with Professor X's concept, peace that can only be maintained by violence is unstable. Only by using peaceful means can mutants and ordinary people live in peace, and such peace can last. They have been fighting for this concept, constantly stopping the evil plans of the Brotherhood of Mutants, and establishing the X-Men to fight crime, changing the stereotypes of ordinary people about mutants. Of course, saving the White Devil from the wrong path is also included, and it has even become the most important goal of the X-Men in the near future. Hearing Professor X's words, Sumu showed a thoughtful look. Yes, you are right, the peace maintained by violence cannot last long. Hearing Sumu's words, Professor X and others' faces eased a lot. It seems that the White Devil just had no one to guide him before, so he went on the wrong path. Now after hearing the professor's advice, he immediately woke up. But suddenly, the White Devil in front of him showed a familiar cold smile again, which made Professor X and others have a bad premonition. Is there another possibility? That is not violent enough, not cruel enough. That is far from enough strength. As long as I am strong enough, just existing, I can suppress all the voices of dissatisfaction. As long as I stand there, no one dares to say a word of no. Then it will be enough, and then there will be real peace. Professor X's face changed drastically. Cyclops was ready to take off his glasses at any time. Storm's hair flew upwards, and the clear sky suddenly changed dramatically, with lightning and strong winds intertwined. Among them, Sumu was most concerned about Phoenix, and a touch of scarlet flashed in her eyes. However, the Dark Phoenix was still sealed by Professor X, and the Phoenix girl at this time was far from being Sumu's opponent. When the ordinary people around saw this scene, they immediately screamed and fled far away. In a short time, only Sumu and the X-Men who confronted him were left on the street. Facing two level 5 mutants, a level 4 mutant, and an attached level 3 little Kurami, Sumu smiled slightly and took a step forward. His azure eyes flashed with spiritual light, and a huge repulsive force emanated from him, spreading rapidly around, destroying everything around. The terrifying dense crack spread from Sumu's feet, covering the surrounding area dozens of meters. Only a small area in front of the X-Men survived. Storm Girl immediately created a gust of wind and cooperated with Phoenix Girl's telekinesis to resist the huge repulsive force with all her strength, but in the face of such a strong repulsive force, she could only keep retreating. Seeing this scene, Cyclops immediately took off his special glasses, and two thick laser beams shot out from his pupils, rushing straight towards the arrogant white demon in front. However, the laser beam that could easily cut steel suddenly slowed down when it approached the white demon within 10 centimeters, and could only spread towards the white demon at an extremely slow speed. Sumu looked at the laser beam that was slowly spreading towards him curiously. Sure enough, the unlimited technique could not completely resist the laser attack, at least the LV2 unlimited technique could not. However, as the level increases, the unlimited technique will definitely be able to easily resist laser attacks, toxin attacks and even space attacks. However, at this time, The laser attack still needs to be dealt with. Under the shocked eyes of Cyclops, Sumu used one palm to cover the laser's forward path. Then, after the laser beam that spread with difficulty touched the flesh and blood body, it could not penetrate the flesh and blood body, but dimmed at a speed visible to the naked eye. What? Cyclops looked at everything in front of him in shock, and even suspected that there was something wrong with his mutant ability. Why can he block my laser with his flesh and blood? The erudite Professor X immediately found the problem. No, he is not forcibly blocking your laser, but absorbing the energy contained in your laser. What? Hearing Professor X's explanation, Phoenix and Storm were even more shocked. Professor, can't the energy absorption mutant ability of the white demon only absorb a small part of the energy? Why can it absorb Scott's laser at this time? Professor X's eyes were very serious when they were asked by them. Now there is only one explanation. The mutant ability of the white demon can become stronger with the passage of time, and it will also gain new mutant abilities with the passage of time. And his trend of becoming stronger seems to have no limit, and the speed is getting faster and faster. Hearing Professor X's analysis, Phoenix and the other two couldn't believe it, but if this explanation was given, everything about the white demon could be effectively explained. Looking at Sumu, the tough X-Men actually showed a touch of fear. Is there really such a terrifying mutant ability? Even a level 5 mutant can't do this. At this time, their thoughts gradually converged, that is, no matter how expensive the price, they must stop the White Devil and pull him onto the right path. Because they finally discovered that when the White Devil completely lost control, the result would not only be a huge disaster, but also the destruction of the world. In a red sea of consciousness, a red-haired and red-eyed figure observed the outside world through the eyes of the Phoenix girl. She stared blankly at the white-haired figure in front of her and listened to Professor X's amazing analysis. The Black Phoenix looked at the White Devil in disbelief. In Professor X's constant persuasion, she also had the idea of whether she was too extreme, and she also hated her own overly powerful power. But at this time, she just wanted to say, "What am I? That guy is the real devil, he is too extreme. Please read and collect!" Exclamation mark. Chapter 33, Unlimited Technique Level 3. The cursed power strengthened the body, the energy absorption absorbed the energy in the laser beam, and the reversal technique repaired the constantly damaged palm. With a series of reinforcements, Sumu was able to use only his flesh and blood to resist the laser beam that could easily penetrate steel. The system's prompts kept coming to his ears: Energy Point +1, Energy Absorption Experience +1, Unlimited Technique Experience +1, compared to Energy Absorption that reached level 3, which was more difficult to gain experience. The experience of the Unlimited Technique, which was only level 2, was increasing rapidly, and it was on the verge of upgrading in a short period of time. Sumu used his palm to resist the laser, and then took another step forward. The terrifying pressure suddenly surged, and the powerful repulsive force from the reversal of the technique he spread to hundreds of meters around, and a large number of buildings along the way were crushed and collapsed by the powerful repulsive force. Everything disappeared with the devil's step. Faced with a sudden surge of repulsive force, even Storm and Phoenix could not resist this huge repulsive force even if they joined forces. The X-Men were immediately knocked out. Even with Phoenix's telekinesis as a buffer, they were still scratched all over by the scattered stones. Pa pa pa. The sound of shoes hitting the ground was still ringing, and the terrifying white-haired demon still did not stop. Even if they immediately rearranged their defenses, the huge pressure around them immediately reached the critical point that Phoenix and Storm could hardly resist. Faced with such a huge pressure, it seemed that the defense they had worked hard to arrange would be destroyed by the terrifying repulsion in the next moment, and they would be crushed into powder under the irresistible force. The fallen Cyclops immediately struggled to get up, endured the pain from all over his body, and used all his strength to release laser beams from his eyes, attacking the white-haired demon in front of him. The same was true for Storm on the side. She flew in the air with the help of wind power, constantly summoning powerful thunder to strike the white-haired demon. However, facing an attack that was even more powerful than just now, the white-haired demon, who had originally used his hands to block the laser, actually stopped resisting and grinned at them. Because just now, Sumu heard the system's prompt, Unlimited Spell Experience +1, Congratulations, Unlimited Spell Upgraded, Unlimited Spell LV3, 1/1000, Interfere with atomic level matter, dominate space. The closer the object is to the user, the slower it will be, and it will never touch the user. The dazzling thunder and the scorching laser beam suddenly stopped when they were about to hit Sumu. The scorching laser that was able to move forward slowly just now could no longer move forward, but was expelled at a faster speed. At the moment when the unlimited spell was upgraded, a large amount of information poured into Sumu's mind, and the range of the unlimited spell expanded rapidly, from the original 10 centimeters outside the body, to 20 centimeters, 30 centimeters, until it stopped when it was 50 centimeters outside the body. Compared with LV2, the range of the unlimited spell was directly increased by 5 times, and the laser attacks that could not be completely resisted before can now be easily resisted. At this time, the X-Men can no longer threaten him in the slightest. Seeing this scene, Cyclops said in disbelief, "What just happened? Why did my laser suddenly stop working?" Just now, his laser could still threaten the white-haired demon, but a few seconds later, it could no longer threaten him at all. Professor X, who was standing by, answered his doubts for him. The white-haired demon's defense ability suddenly improved qualitatively, and he has completely ignored your laser attack. Sure enough, my guess was right. His strength is constantly improving with the passage of time. Thinking of this, Professor X immediately realized that they were far from being the opponent of the white-haired demon. If they wanted to bring the white-haired demon back on track, they had to make longer-term plans. So he immediately said, "Child, stop, we have no ill will towards you." But the white-haired demon's footsteps continued, with no intention of stopping at all. Faced with huge pressure, the Phoenix Girl, who was mainly maintaining defense, was trembling all over, and the wounds of all sizes on her body were bleeding, as if she would no longer be able to resist the attack in front of her in the next moment. And the red color in her pupils, like the fire, became more and more obvious, as if it would explode at any time. Professor X became even more anxious when he saw this. If Jean lost control at this time, her battle with the white-haired demon might destroy the whole New York. While Professor X comforted Jean, he anxiously said to the white-haired demon in front of him again, "Child, we have no ill intentions. If it makes you unhappy, we will leave immediately." But the white-haired demon's footsteps continued. At this time, even Storm and Cyclops discovered the problem of Phoenix. They looked at the white-haired demon who was constantly oppressing, and saw that the professor was almost unable to suppress Jean, and suddenly showed despair. "I don't know who will win between Jean and the white-haired demon, but they're dead, and the whole New York will no longer exist." Unexpectedly, just wanting to win over the white-haired demon to join Xavier's school for gifted youths, it caused such a huge disaster. At this time, all of them regretted it, but the disaster was about to happen and could not be stopped at all. They didn't think that with the white-haired demon's previous unscrupulous style of behavior, he would suddenly stop and let them go. However, when they looked desperate and waited for Phoenix to completely lose control and fight with the white-haired demon, they suddenly found that the white-haired demon stopped when Phoenix was completely on the verge of the limit. The terrifying pressure just now disappeared in an instant, and the white-haired demon stopped attacking at some point and was looking at them coldly. The fear of death wrapped them deeply and made them unable to breathe. In the depressing atmosphere, the days were like years, and there was silence around them. This silence lasted for several minutes. Suddenly, the X-Men saw the white-haired demon taking action and immediately went on full alert to prevent the terrorist attack that might come at any time. However, the scene in front of them made them stunned. They saw that the white-haired demon who wanted to kill them just now took a step and disappeared from the spot without a trace. The terrifying crisis was suddenly resolved, which made him a little confused. After all, the white-haired demon just wanted to kill them, but now he suddenly had to consider their invitation. Storm said unconfidently, could it be that he was really influenced by the professor? Professor X was sweating profusely. He finally pulled Jean back from the edge of losing control. Hearing Storm's words, he nodded and said, "It is indeed possible, but the probability is too small. I am more inclined to the second possibility, that is, the white-haired demon has some kind of crisis-sensing ability, or even the ability to predict the future. He used this power to predict Jean's loss of control, and then left." Hearing the professor's words, in addition to Phoenix who fell into coma due to overuse of her ability, Storm and Cyclops carefully recalled the details just now, and immediately found that the professor's guess was more likely. He has awakened another mutant ability, or did he have it before and only showed it now? Cyclops has never seen a mutant with so many abilities. Please read and collect it! Exclamation mark. Chapter 34 Are you seeing the White Devil? Storm on the side said, "It's really terrifying. If there is really no upper limit to the speed increase of the white demon's strength, then in the near future, no one can stop him." Hearing Storm's question, Professor X fell into silence for a long time. He didn't know how to answer Storm's question, so he could only slowly say, "That's why we should pull him into the right path." Cyclops on the side suddenly asked, "Then how can we pull him into the right path?" After this question was asked, everyone fell silent. Above the sky, Sumu paced in the air, and a step was hundreds of meters away. There were two reasons why he stopped attacking and chose to leave during the confrontation with the X-Men just now. First, Phoenix has the Phoenix Force, which is one of the most terrifying existences in the Marvel multiverse. It is the embodiment of all life and emotions. As the most ancient power, the complete Phoenix Force can decompose, transform, reorganize, create, and destroy everything at will, and can also distort cause and effect and timeline at will. He can travel in any latitude, dimension, and universe at will, and is not subject to any restrictions. The complete Phoenix Force is a great existence that transcends the omnipotent universe. Even if the Phoenix Force in Phoenix Girl's body is only a tiny fragment, it is definitely a terrifying power that can easily make Phoenix Girl a level 5 mutant, and she is also an extremely powerful existence among level 5 mutants. Since it is uncertain whether the unlimited technique can block the ability of the Black Phoenix to decompose matter, and whether the regeneration speed of the reversal technique is faster than the speed of Phoenix Girl's decomposition of matter, Sumu still did not take the risk. Second, there will be a conflict between the X-Men and Colonel Stryker. Before, he asked Tony Stark to find Stryker's whereabouts, but he may have known that he would be targeted by the White Devil, so Stryker deliberately hid his whereabouts, and even Tony Stark could not find his trace. After that, Sumu asked Shield again, and the result was the same. So he planned to rely on the X-Men to lead out Stryker's traces. Stryker, who hated mutants very much, would definitely attack the X-Men. The hook has been left, and the next step is to wait quietly for the fish to take the bait. Horizontal ellipsis. In a remote town in New Mexico, in a restaurant, all the customers looked at a table of strange customers. Just because one of the customers at that table suddenly broke a cup, although the other companions of that companion apologized immediately, it still attracted the attention of many customers. However, the next moment, the doorbell of the restaurant rang, and a slender figure walked in, shifting the attention of all customers from the rude big man to him. "Hey man, are you cosplaying as the White Devil?" One of the chubby guys near the door was attracted by the doorbell, turned his head and looked behind him, and immediately saw a handsome man with white hair and sunglasses who had just come in. He was very familiar with this outfit, which was the outfit of the level 5 mutant White Devil. Because the mutant ability and decoration of the White Devil are extremely cool, and he is very well known all over the world, all kinds of reasons have made many young people keep trying to cosplay him. This chubby guy is naturally no exception, but he is short and fat, and he can't cosplay the temperament of the White Devil at all, so he had to give up this attempt. Seeing the handsome man who just walked into the restaurant, he was extremely envious. The height, figure and even appearance of this guy were very similar to the White Devil. If he hadn't known that the White Devil was in New York at this time, he would have thought that this guy was really the White Devil. As soon as Sumu entered the door, he saw a fat boy with white hair looking at him with envy, and then heard the fat boy asking him if he was cosplaying the White Devil, and constantly praising him for his high degree of restoration. Sumu was stunned for a moment, then he understood what the fat boy meant, and then he didn't know what he thought of, showing a look of evil taste to the fat boy. "Thank you, man, your hair is cool too." After getting the affirmation of the cosplay boss in front of him, the fat boy showed excitement, looking at the glass in the mirror beside him, looking at himself reflected in the glass. No matter how he looked at it, he was handsome. "I knew that Tom and the others must be jealous of my handsomeness and deliberately mocked me." Sumu. Skipping the narcissistic fat boy, Sumu walked to the strange table where the cup had just been smashed, and then sat down under the strange eyes of Thor and others. Through the description of the plot of Thor 1 and a little help from Shield, Sumu immediately found this town. After a day of rest in a hotel, Sumu found that Thor and others came to this restaurant that had appeared in the plot, so he decided to come and look for Thor. Sitting down, seeing Thor and others looking at him in confusion, Sumu grinned and showed a bright smile. "Hi everyone, how are you? My name is Sumu, of course others prefer to call me the White Devil. Can I meet you all?" Hearing Sumyu's self-introduction, everyone except Thor, the god of thunder, laughed out loud. Among them, Jane Foster, the future girlfriend of Thor, laughed and said, "You are the White Devil? That's really a coincidence, we have a legendary god of thunder in Norse mythology. Don't you think so, Thor?" Facing Jane Foster's teasing, Sumyu did not try to prove anything, but looked at Thor in shock. "Oh my god, you are Thor, the legendary son of Odin, the future king of Asgard." Since landing in the atrium, he has lost the power of Thor and has been repeatedly defeated. No one believes that he is Thor, the god of thunder. At this time, he was suddenly recognized, and Thor immediately felt that the weak human in front of him was extremely amiable. "Yes, I am Thor, the god of thunder, the son of Odin. You have good vision. When I find Mjolnir and return to Asgard, I will definitely reward you handsomely." Sumyu's smile became even happier. "Thank you so much, Your Highness Thor." Seeing the stranger who called himself the White Devil chatting happily with Thor who called himself the God of Thunder, the other three were at a loss whether to laugh or cry. Thor was already in trouble, and now there was another madman. At this moment, Thor recalled Sumyu's self-introduction just now, and thought of the reactions of other people around him, so he curiously asked Sumyu, "Are you famous? Why are other people in the atrium around you looking at you?" Before Sumyu responded, Jane Foster answered for him, "He is playing a very famous person." After Jane Foster's explanation, Thor finally understood the concept of cosplay, so he smiled at Sumyu and said, "That White Devil is too weak, you should cosplay me, the great Thor, it's cooler." Sumyu, who was constantly patted on the shoulder by Thor, did not speak, but the smile on the corner of his mouth became deeper. "Please collect and read it!" Exclamation mark. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35: The Hammer God Who Lost His Hammer. At this time, a fat middle-aged man at the counter of the restaurant said to his companion, "You missed a good show. We heard that a satellite landed in the desert. We were watching it happily, and the spy from the Bureau of Investigation came." Jane Foster asked the fat middle-aged man curiously, "Excuse me, are you saying that a satellite fell in the desert?" "Yes," the fat middle-aged man replied. Professor Eric on the other side of the table also showed a curious look. "What does a satellite look like?" The fat middle-aged man continued to answer, "I don't understand satellites, but I know it is very heavy and no one can lift it." Hearing this, Thor immediately stood up, walked to the middle-aged man, grabbed his shoulder and asked, "Where's it?" The middle-aged man looked at Thor who was rude behind him and was stunned, but still replied, "Go 50 miles west from here." Seeing Thor leave, he kindly reminded, "Don't waste time, the army is already here." But Thor completely ignored it and walked out of the restaurant. Jane Foster and others also followed, leaving only Sumyu alone. But he didn't rush to follow, but ordered a portion of egg tarts and ate them slowly. When he walked out of the restaurant slowly, he saw Jane Foster said to Thor who wanted to buy a horse in the pet store, "Do you want to take a ride?" Just when Thor was sitting in the passenger seat, the two suddenly heard a familiar magnetic voice from the side, "Then can I take a ride?" Jane Foster and Thor looked out the window, only to see the white-haired young man who had just been in the restaurant tapping the car window with his index finger joint and showing them a bright smile. "Oh, of course, but we want to do something extremely dangerous. Are you sure you want to go together?" Jane Foster replied. "Yes." Sumyu showed a mysterious smile on his face. "I finally met a legendary Thor. I don't want to leave just like that." On the way to the destination, Jane Foster said to Thor, "I haven't done this kind of thing. What about you?" Thor said with a mysterious smile, "Many times." When he wanted to say something, the white-haired man behind him also replied, "Yeah, I have done it many times, it's nothing." Thor asked Sumyu curiously, "Oh, Sumyu, what have you done?" "I destroyed a gang stronghold alone, and I have also faced the siege of the army and mutants and left calmly. I have destroyed huge mechanical armor and also fought 2 terrifying monsters. Some time ago, I had a confrontation with the X-Men on the streets of New York and almost destroyed the whole New York." Thor was stunned when he heard it. He didn't expect Sumyu's life to be so exciting, but he remembered that Sumyu was cosplaying the white-haired devil at this time. These would not be the deeds of the white-haired devil. At this time Jane Foster smiled and said, "You two are really interesting. One thinks he is a white-haired devil, the other thinks he is Thor." Before she finished speaking, Thor interrupted her immediately. "I am Thor, not me who thinks I am. Wait until I take back the power of Thor, and you will naturally know everything." Seeing the serious expression on Thor's face, Jane Foster recalled the scene of her first meeting with Thor. He was falling from the sky. If he was really the Thor who was deprived of his power by Odin and exiled to Midgard, then all of this was effectively explained. But just as she was gradually convinced by Thor, Sumu in the back seat also nodded with a smile and said, "That's right, I believe Thor is the god of thunder, and I am also the white-haired devil. Jane, you have to believe us." Jane, who had just believed in Thor in her heart, immediately shook her head after hearing Sumu's words. "I am really crazy. I would accompany you to do such a thing. But they stole the results of my life's research. I must take them all back." Hearing this atrium girl who made him feel good, Thor immediately smiled and said to her, "Don't worry, when I get Mjolnir back, I will definitely ask them to return all the materials." Sumu also nodded deeply. "Yes, when we get there, we will ask them to hand over everything." Jane Foster smiled slightly and did not comment. Obviously, she didn't believe it at all. Before they were completely close to the destination, the three of them parked the car in a hidden location, and then walked to a small hillside, using a telescope on the hillside to observe the temporary military base below. At this time, the sky had completely darkened, and the surroundings were pitch black, relying only on the lights in the base in front of them. After a brief observation, Thor handed Jane Foster his coat to protect her from the cold and then planned to rush down, but was stopped by Jane Foster, who said sternly, "Do you think you can just walk over and take our things and leave?" Thor smiled confidently, "No, I want to fly out." After that, he rushed straight to the military base without waiting for Jane Foster to say anything else. Boom! A thunder suddenly sounded in the sky, accompanied by dazzling lightning that instantly illuminated the whole world. Under the illumination of the lightning, Thor broke into the military base and defeated the agents one by one. At this time, he finally looked like Thor. Jane Foster was very worried when she saw Thor fighting with many agents. Suddenly, a cynical and magnetic laugh came from her side. "Don't worry, even if Thor really can't get back the power of Thor, I'm here, I will solve all the problems." Jane Foster's worried look froze immediately. Because of the previous preparations, she might still have the fantasy that Thor is the legendary Thor, but she never expected that Sumu is really the white-haired devil. Not only because the white-haired devil is in New York at this time, it is impossible to appear in New Mexico, but also because the white-haired devil in her impression will not be Sumu's unreliable appearance. As the strongest level 5 mutant, the white-haired devil who is enough to flatten a city in a short time has always been a cruel and cold man in the news, and it is impossible to be the funny guy in front of him who always has a smirk. At this time, under their gaze, Thor defeated one agent after another and came to the front of Thor's hammer. Then he confidently held the handle of the hammer with one hand and wanted to pick up Thor's hammer. However, one attempt, no result. 2 attempts, still no result. After continuous attempts, Thor finally gave up and knelt on the ground and roared in despair after using all his strength to pick up Thor's hammer. Seeing this scene, Jane Foster immediately turned around and walked towards the car parked in the distance. It seemed that she wanted to find a rescuer. But she was suddenly stopped by a tall white-haired figure. Even at this time, the white-haired figure still had an unreliable smile on his mouth. "Didn't I say that there is still me?" Jane Foster had no time to communicate with Sumu at this time. She immediately said, "Sumu, we have to leave quickly and find Dr. Eric to bail Thor out, otherwise he will be in danger." But Sumu's smile on his face did not change, and he still stopped her. Just when she was getting impatient, she suddenly found that Sumu in front of her had become strange. It was obviously the same smile, but suddenly it changed from unreliable to chilling coldness, making her feel extremely strange and cold all over. Unreliable Sumu. No. It was the white-haired devil who said to her with a cold face, "I told you, there's me too. Please read and collect it." Chapter 36 Template Fusion Degree 56%. Under Jane Foster's shocked gaze, Sumu stood up, put his hands in his pockets, and walked towards the base in front. He was not in a hurry, as if the front was not a heavily guarded military base, but a leisurely resort. Because Thor had just trespassed into the base, many agents were more alert at this time, and immediately found his trace when Su-mu just approached. So some agents immediately went to stop him, but when they got close to Su-mu and saw his appearance clearly, they subconsciously stopped. White hair, blue eyes, he is the White Devil. An agent screamed immediately after discovering it. Compared with civilians, these SHIELD agents know more about the White Devil and understand the horror of the White Devil more. Unlike the X-Men who want mutants to live in peace with humans and the Brotherhood of Mutants who want to eliminate humans and let mutants rule the world, the White Devil is a powerful mutant without purpose and does whatever he wants. Because there is no concept and no clear goal, there is no concern, and it is impossible to predict its actions. It is the most unstable factor. At this time, another agent asked doubtfully, shouldn't the White Devil be in New York now? Could he be another imitator? Hearing this, all the agents had this doubt, but when the white-haired figure in front of them approached again, they no longer had the previous idea. Su-mu took a step forward, and the powerful pressure from the reversal of the technique burst out suddenly, knocking away the agents who were intercepting on the left and right. The alarm sounded immediately, and the radio calls from the agents kept echoing the emergency notice, the White Devil is coming. The White Devil is coming. Unlike the playfulness in the face of Thor's coming, all the agents acted quickly like precision parts, holding guns in an instant to prepare for the enemy. Among them, Hawkeye, who was on a high place when Thor attacked, was no longer relaxed when he heard the message in the headset, and looked solemnly at the front of the base. There was a figure there with his hands in his pockets, moving forward unhurriedly. As he moved forward, a huge repulsive force enveloped the surrounding area dozens of meters. Whether it was a temporary building or a well-trained agent, they were all knocked out of this area. Hawkeye stared at the White Devil, holding the bowstring with his right hand, not knowing whether to shoot. At this moment, perhaps noticing his gaze, the White Devil suddenly looked towards him, without a trace of emotion in his eyes. It was complete indifference. It was precisely because of this look that Hawkeye completely gave up shooting the special explosive arrow. Because he knew that his arrow could not cause any harm to the White Devil at all, but would cost him his life. Any attack from the White Devil was extremely fatal to him. As a well-trained and powerful agent, he was not afraid of death, but he would never make a sacrifice without any value. In a room full of surveillance screens, repeated alarms were constantly coming from the loudspeaker. Alarm, White Devil is attacking. Alarm, White Devil is attacking. After hearing the alarm, a bald man with glasses had a gleam in his eyes. He went to a hidden corner and sent a message to an unknown IP, and then continued to command, don't provoke the White Devil. We are no match for him. Don't make meaningless sacrifices. Agent Coulson, you have had close contact with the White Devil. We can only rely on you now. In an interrogation room, Coulson, who was questioning Thor, suddenly heard an alarm from the headset, and then heard a message from another agent, the White Devil is attacking? Exclamation mark. Why did he come here? Coulson immediately thought of the hammer located here. If there was anything here that could attract the White Devil, it must be this one. Without much hesitation, Coulson left the interrogation room and rushed out of the base. Thor, who was left in the interrogation room, also heard the alarms coming from all around. White Devil, isn't that the person Su-mu has been cosplaying? Why is he here? Suddenly, he thought of something, thinking of the conversation with Su-mu during this period, and his indifference to breaking into the military base, and immediately realized something. No way, he can't really be the White Devil? So what he said before is true. Coulson just came outside and found that the large buildings in front of him were destroyed by the terrifying repulsive force. It was still raining in the sky at this time, and there were mud everywhere. Most of the agents were lying on the ground in a mess, soaking wet, looking miserable. So the figure standing in the void looked even more abrupt, and the rain was bounced away by the invisible repulsive force when it approached him for dozens of meters, and could not get close to him at all. He paced in the air, his body was not stained with a bit of dust, isolated and independent, as if he did not belong to this world. Coulson saw that the terrifying invisible force field had begun to destroy the main temporary building, and he immediately shouted, Mr. Su-mu. Mr. Su-mu. I am Coulson. We have communicated in Stark Building before. Please stop. We welcome your arrival. Su-mu, who was standing in the void, heard Coulson's voice, retracted the repulsion, and stepped out to Coulson's side. Seeing Su-mu appear and stop attacking, Coulson was deeply relieved, and then said, Mr. Su-mu, you don't have to make such a fuss. If you want to come, we welcome you. Sumu grinned and chuckled. If he didn't have the power at this time, you would probably have a different attitude, right? He smiled and said, I was just saying hello just now, and I didn't mean any harm. Looking at the large number of agents who fell to the ground in the distance, and the temporary base that was destroyed by a small part, Callison couldn't help but keep complaining in his heart, is this what you call saying hello? But he also understood that for the White Devil, this level of attack was indeed merciful. Callison continued to ask, I wonder why you are here. Sumu walked towards the inside of the base and responded, you captured my friend, I came to save him. Callison immediately thought of the man who just called himself Thor, and cold sweat immediately flowed down his forehead. Fortunately, they did not hurt the man, otherwise the situation at this time might really be out of control. After entering the base, Sumu walked straight to the location of Thor's hammer. When he came to the crater, he suddenly found a figure trying to pick up Thor's hammer. But he obviously did not get recognition. No matter how hard he tried, he still couldn't pick up the hammer. Seeing this scene, Sumu immediately knew who the person in the strange armor was, so he immediately said in front of Callison's strange eyes, Loki, you can't pick it up because you are not qualified. Hearing this, Loki immediately turned around and looked behind him. When he saw Sumu, he was stunned. He didn't expect that a mere person in the atrium could actually detect his existence when he was invisible. Then Loki immediately showed an arrogant look. Even though he was standing below Sumu, he still looked down at him as if from a high position. Loki opened his arms and said arrogantly, the strong man of the atrium, you are qualified to meet the king of Asgard. Sumu looked at the arrogant Loki in front of him, and then looked at the character template fusion degree that had reached 56% during this period of time, as well as many powerful skills, and the smile on the corner of his mouth suddenly became interesting. It seems that I have to teach this disobedient naughty baby a lesson. A very good fantasy farming novel. Readers who like it can go and have a look. Chapter 37, Void Style. Looking at Loki in front of him, Sumu walked towards him without any intention of greeting. Seeing this scene, Loki frowned. He didn't expect that the Midgard man in front of him was so rude and dared to offend the king of Asgard. So he immediately summoned the dagger, wanting to teach the rude Midgard man a lesson and let the rude Midgard man understand the etiquette of respect and inferiority. He directly attacked Sumu with a mocking smile. Humble Midgard man, it seems that I need to teach you how to kneel when facing the king. Seeing that the dagger was about to hit the Midgard man in front of him, Loki sneered. The Midgard man didn't even react to his attack. Even though the dagger was less than 1 meter away from him, he still had no intention of dodging, which made him feel boring. However, just as the dagger was about to approach the Midgard man in front of him, the expression on his face suddenly froze, and he looked at the dagger in front of him that could not move forward any further. What kind of power is this? Just when Loki was about to say something, a strong repulsive force came from the front. The pressure caused by this repulsive force was even stronger than being hit by Thor's hammer head-on. He was suddenly blown away by the terrifying repulsive force. His body first shattered the surrounding glass walls, destroyed the metal brackets along the way, and then cut through the rain curtain and broke through the outermost metal fence of the base before stopping. Oh, my back. Loki felt a sharp pain all over his body and felt that everything in front of him was a dream. Is this a Midgard? When did they become so strong? Before he could breathe a sigh of relief, the powerful attraction once again attracted him to the white-haired demon in the distance. The terrifying attraction ignored any resistance from him. Even if he stuck the dagger into the ground, the speed of being attracted did not decrease at all. Finally, he returned to the room wrapped in glass again, returned to the Thor's hammer that he had been thinking about, and saw the terrifying white-haired demon again. After catching Loki again, Sumu grinned and thought of something. So he held one of Loki's legs tightly, used spell power manipulation and energy enhancement to strengthen his body to the limit, swung Loki back and forth, and kept smashing him to the ground until he stopped after dozens of times. After everything was over, looking at Loki with a dull face and doubting his life, Sumu said something that he didn't understand now. No wonder Hulk likes to smash things, the feeling is really good. Because Sumu suddenly attacked just now, Callison had already dodged far away. Seeing that everything was calm, he immediately walked over. Seeing the strange man with horns suddenly appearing, he asked Sumu in confusion, "Mr. Sumu, who is he?" Sumu was still recalling the feeling just now. After experimenting on Loki, He immediately liked this feeling. Hearing Kalson's words, he replied casually, "Loki, the son of Odin, the second prince of Asgard, and also a naughty child of thousands of years old." "Loki, isn't that a myth?" Kalson said in disbelief. For the ancients in the past, they were indeed gods who mastered powerful technology and magic, but their essence was nothing more than aliens. Looking at Loki, who was defeated by the white-haired demon, Kalson nodded deeply. How could there be such a weak god? Seeing the agents bringing Loki to the interrogation room, Sumyu ignored them. He knew that Loki would definitely escape, and these agents could not imprison the god of trickery at all. But this was also what Sumyu thought. If Loki did not escape, the destroyer armor would not come to Earth, and the subsequent Mind Stone gift pack would no longer exist. Focusing his eyes on Thor's hammer, Sumyu stretched out his hand to hold the hammer handle and tried to lift it, but it was obvious that the white-haired demon was not qualified to lift Thor's hammer. And at this time, his strength was far less than that of Odin, and he could not use brute force to break the magic left by Odin on it. At this time, in the interrogation room, Thor was shocked to see his brother being imprisoned. He was sure that his cunning brother would never be caught by those agents, so there was someone else who caught him. So he asked directly, "Loki, who defeated you and captured you?" After being asked by Thor, Loki finally recovered from the blow. He looked at Thor, who was also imprisoned beside him, and replied with gritted teeth, "A damn white-haired Midgard man, he insulted me, I will make him pay the price." As soon as the voice fell, Loki disappeared from the spot with a flash of magic. When Thor heard his words, he immediately thought of Sumyu's white hair. The previous thought could not help but emerge again. Could he really be the white-haired devil? At this moment, a figure pushed open the door and walked in. The visitor had familiar white hair and familiar round-frame sunglasses. However, at this time, the exquisite blue eyes that had been hidden under the sunglasses were revealed, which contained the unruly and empty eyes that he had never been able to match before. Thor heard the familiar yet strange white-haired demon in front of him say, "What a mess, Thor." After releasing Thor, Sumyu stayed in a 5-star hotel, waiting for the arrival of the destroyer. And in this process, he kept absorbing the energy from the 2 arc reactors, constantly improving the panel fusion degree. A few days later, the sound of the system's improvement kept ringing in Sumyu's ears. Energy point +1, energy point +1, energy point +1. After a long period of absorption, the color of the 2 arc reactors was much darker than before. It would take a while to support it, and then it would be necessary to find Tony Stark to replace the new arc reactor. After absorbing again for a few minutes, Sumyu's ears rang with a few slightly different system prompts. Energy point +1, template fusion degree. 60%, you have unlocked a new skill, Virtual Style Z. Virtual Style Z LV1, 1/100, overlap the following technique King and the reversal technique. He to form an imaginary mass and release an energy wave that can cut through space. A large amount of information poured into Sumyu's mind. This time the information was more dense than when he had acquired skills in the past, and the knowledge of using mana contained in it was more complicated. By the time he had digested all the knowledge, Sumyu had completely mastered the use of the virtual style, and could release it with 100% success. At this moment, a white light that penetrated the sky and the earth suddenly lit up in the distance. Sumyu looked in that direction and grinned. The timing was just right. This light should be the 4 warriors of Asgard using the Rainbow Bridge to find Thor, and the destroyer should be coming soon. I wonder if the destroyer armor made of Yoru metal can withstand the virtual style? Jumping out of the window and pacing in the air, Sumyu flew at high speed in the direction where the white light column appeared. A very good American comic fan fiction, the content is humorous and interesting, and it is a masterpiece among DC novels. Chapter 38 Destroyer Armor. The border town in the distance was in chaos. The terrifying mechanical monsters several meters high were constantly destroying everywhere. The agents and some civilians who came to stop them were already dead. At this time, Thor was evacuating the surrounding civilians with Jane Foster, Dr. Eric and others, while the 4 warriors of Asgard rushed towards the destroyer armor that had descended. They knew that they were no match for the destroyer armor that Odin had spent a lot of energy to carefully build, but they were also quite confident in their own strength and believed that they could buy enough time to evacuate the crowd. So, just like Loki went to Sumyu a few days ago, Fandral, who had a big brown beard, bravely rushed towards the destroyer armor with the help of his companions. But when he just approached and had no time to attack, He was hit in the face by a punch from the destroyer armor, was smashed out and finally fell on a car, unable to get up again. When the destroyer armor was about to release a laser from its head to kill Fandral, Sif, the only female of the 4 warriors of Asgard, jumped off the roof and pierced the neck of the destroyer armor with a spear in her hand. Just when they breathed a sigh of relief and thought everything was over, they found that the destroyer armor had lit up again. It was unscathed and released energy rays again to force them back. But in a moment, the 4 warriors of Asgard were defeated by the destroyer armor. Only then did they realize the gap between themselves and the destroyer armor. Thor saw the 4 injured warriors of Asgard, and then looked at the destroyer armor that was still being destroyed. He suddenly understood his responsibility, so he stood up and walked towards the destroyer armor in the distance. He wanted to use his life to save the lives of the weak, which is what a king should do. Just as Thor was preparing to welcome his own death, clear footsteps suddenly came from a distance, and the uninhabited border town at this time was extremely conspicuous. Everyone looked in the direction of the footsteps, and saw a young man with white hair and sunglasses, walking over unhurriedly with his hands in his pockets. He seemed not to notice the tragic situation in front of him, and the terrifying destroyer armor standing in the firelight. While chewing gum bought from nowhere, he walked slowly like shopping. First, he passed by Jane Foster and others and said to them, "Hello, Jane, Professor Eric, we meet again." After Jane Foster saw Sue-Mew, a light of hope flashed in her eyes, and she immediately said to Sue-Mew, "Sue-Mew, help Thor, he is dying now." But before Sue-Mew could answer, the goddess of land and harvest Sif shook her head and said, "People of the Midgard, give up, let Thor die gloriously, you can't stop the destroyer armor." Sue-Mew completely ignored Sif, nodded to Jane, and said in his usual unremarkable tone, "Then you have to agree to one condition of mine in the future. After you get sick, you must first ask me to help you heal." Although Sue-Mew came for the destroyer armor, it was also very good to let Jane Foster owe him a favor at this time. When she is possessed by the reality gem in the future, I believe that the reversal technique will be upgraded to a sufficient level by then, and it is very likely that the reality gem in her body can be taken out. Isn't this another express delivery? Although she didn't know what Sue-Mew meant, in order to save Thor, Jane Foster immediately nodded in agreement. "Okay, I promise you, I will find you as soon as I get sick." Sue-Mew smiled with satisfaction, and then walked towards the destroyer armor. Suddenly, a figure stopped him. It was Sif, the only female among the 4 warriors of Asgard. She said to Sue-Mew with a serious face, "Go back, you can't be the opponent of the destroyer armor, don't destroy the glory that belongs to Thor." Hearing her words, Sue-Mew couldn't help but sneer, "Glory, is it being slaughtered?" Facing Sue-Mew's ridicule, Sif immediately gave a warning, "For Asgard warriors, dying on the battlefield and being remembered by future generations is the highest honor. Please leave immediately." Facing the Earthlings other than Thor, the 4 warriors of Asgard would not be so good-tempered. They looked down on the backward atrium. They didn't attack Sue-Mew immediately at this time because he knew Thor. Looking at Sif, the legendary goddess of land and harvest, who was still blocking him, Sue-Mew no longer had patience. He smiled brightly at Sif. Just when Sif thought he would return, Sue-Mew swung his right hand vigorously, and Sif was blown away by the powerful repulsive force. Her body smashed through houses one after another, and finally embedded in the ground without any movement. The remaining 3 warriors of the Asgard Palace who were watching the show on the side, and Jane Foster and others suddenly stopped breathing and looked at what had just happened in shock. The 3 warriors of the Asgard Palace looked at Sue-Mew in disbelief. When did the people of the Midgard become so powerful? They actually defeated Sif in an instant. When they reacted, instead of being afraid, they rushed towards Sue-Mew. The people of the Midgard dared to attack the goddess of land and harvest, which was a heinous crime. Then, in the eyes of Jane Foster and others, the remaining 3 Asgard warriors were also blown away in an instant, and fainted on the ground after smashing houses. Even though Jane Foster knew that Sue-Mew was really the white-haired devil, she still couldn't believe it. Is the white-haired devil really so powerful? It's more terrifying than the legendary gods. As for Dr. Eric and Darcy, who still didn't know Sue-Mew's identity, they subconsciously held their breath and stared at Sue-Mew in a daze. So he was really the white-haired demon, not a cosplay? So the white-haired demon was really that powerful? After dealing with the 4 fools in Asgard, Sue-Mew took a step forward and appeared in front of Thor as if teleporting, confronting the destroyer armor. When Thor saw Sue-Mew coming, He first showed joy on his face, but then his face dimmed again and said to him, "Sumu, don't be impulsive. This is the destroyer armor made by my father to fight against the Celestials. It is made entirely of Uru alloy and is extremely powerful. You can't be its opponent. Go quickly, Loki's target is me, at least if he kills me, he will leave." Before Thor could continue to advise, the body of the destroyer armor showed a scorching light, and a much more powerful energy ray suddenly shot towards Sumu. Loki, who was controlling the destroyer armor in Asgard, saw the white-haired man in front of him through the vision of the destroyer armor, and his face was overjoyed. Isn't this the damn bastard who insulted him a few days ago? Now is the perfect opportunity for revenge. Even if that bastard is really strong, he is definitely no match for the destroyer armor. Loki immediately ordered the destroyer armor to attack with all his strength. For some reason, Loki only used a small part of the power of the destroyer armor when attacking Thor and others before. Now facing the white-haired demon who once humiliated him, he immediately ordered the destroyer armor to exert its full strength. The scorching energy ray flew towards Sumu at a high speed, and Thor, who was standing aside, couldn't bear to see what happened next. Even if Sumu was very powerful, he could never be the opponent of the destroyer armor. He would be killed by the energy beam and turned into nothingness, and even his body would not be left behind. But the next moment, Thor's face turned into absolute astonishment. Loki, who was controlling the destroyer armor in the Asgard, changed his face greatly. In the field of vision observed through the destroyer armor, a fist forced to face the laser ray and hit the chest of the destroyer armor directly. The next moment, the terrifying black and red lightning suddenly broke out between the two. A very good novel, the work of a great guy. Aliens invade the world of American comics. Chapter 39 Energy Absorption LV4. Black lightning exploded between Sumu and the destroyer armor. The aftermath of the collision between the two destroyed the surrounding area dozens of meters. Then a huge steel figure was knocked out from the smoke and dust. After punching the destroyer armor away, Sumu was not intact. The energy rays released by the destroyer armor are more powerful than the energy rays of Cyclops. Even the level 3 unlimited technique cannot completely resist it. Sumu's chest showed a large area of laser burn marks, which quickly recovered under the effect of the reversal technique. He looked forward excitedly. The destroyer armor slowly rose from hundreds of meters away, without any damage to the whole body. Sumu fell into disadvantage at the first contact. This was a situation he had never encountered since he crossed over. However, he was not discouraged, but became more and more excited. In the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, in addition to increasing the power of the attack to the original 2.5 power, the Black Flash will also put the user into the zone state. In this state, the user can increase his strength, speed, spell power, reaction, etc. to 120% of the normal level, showing amazing abilities. After using Black Flash, Sumu immediately entered this state. At this time, he felt unprecedented comfort, and his energy and body were unprecedentedly fast. The destroyer armor in the distance once again released a laser from its head and rushed towards Sumu. After using the technique to turn Kang to move quickly and avoid the attack, Sumu came to the front of the destroyer armor again. This time there was no interference from the laser. He hit the destroyer armor again in an uninjured state. The energy fine control of the LV3 6 eyes and the energy mastery ability of LV3 energy absorption greatly increased the success rate of Sumu's release of Black Flash. The black and red thunder exploded again, and the destroyer armor was knocked away again, but this time he was not able to go far away, and was attracted by the terrifying azure black hole. The strong pressure from the technique to turn Kang pulled the destroyer armor into the azure black hole, but the difference from before was that the azure black hole could not cause damage to the destroyer armor. After being suddenly attacked by gravity at first, the destroyer armor immediately adapted to the huge attraction and regained stability. However, Sumu did not feel sorry. He was not surprised that the destroyer armor could ignore the attack of the Kang technique. If Odin could not be immune to the attack of the Kang technique, how could he wear the destroyer armor to fight against the Celestials? The smile on his face became more and more joyful, and the energy in his body was extremely active. His whole body was surrounded by the energy-converted mantra, and the azure mantra on the surface of his body seemed to be boiling. Extending his index finger and pointing to the destroyer armor in front of him that was resisting the attraction of the Kang technique, Sumu's mouth cracked into a happy smile from the bottom of his heart. Reverse the technique. The cursed force quickly flowed to the tip of the index finger, and a black and red singularity the size of a ping-pong ball formed at a very fast speed. As soon as Sumu finished speaking, the black and red singularity cut through the air, piercing the air to form a terrifying sonic boom, which disappeared in front of Sumu's index finger and instantly hit the head of the destroyer armor. Boom! A terrifying explosion occurred, and the destroyer heavy armor was knocked away again. The powerful repulsive force from the reversal of the technique was far more powerful than the attack of the Black Flash. While knocking the destroyer armor away, it continued to destroy the ground along the way, and finally knocked the destroyer armor away for thousands of meters, leaving a huge gully before it stopped. The aftermath of the explosion reached the town in the distance, and the entire ground continued to shake, as if a high-intensity earthquake had occurred. At this time, Jane Foster and the 4 warriors of Asgard and others came to Thor's side, and watched the battle in the distance in shock with Thor. Even Thor who has not lost his power can't do it. Sif muttered to herself. The scene in front of her broke her previous cognition. It turned out that the people of the Midgard were so powerful. After releasing the reversal of the spell, Sumu did not relax, because through the observation of the 6 eyes, the destroyer armor in the dust was still intact, but the armor on the chest was slightly damaged and recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. This made Sumu slightly complain. Why didn't he show such amazing fighting power when fighting Thor in the movie? Sure enough, Loki loved Thor deeply, and the usual quarrels were just a manifestation of Tsundere. While Sumu was complaining, the destroyer armor in the distance rushed over again. Seeing this scene, Sumu was even more excited. This was a brand new experience that he didn't get from fighting with Hulk. The two fought again, black lightning burst out from time to time, and the terrifying energy beams left dense scratches on the ground. During the battle, Sumu's experience in each skill was rising rapidly, and the system's prompts continued: Energy Point +1, 6 Eyes Experience +1, Energy Absorption Experience +1, Unlimited Spell Experience +1, Spell Forward King Experience +1, Spell Reverse He Experience +1. After being hit by the energy beam again, Sumu's arm was immediately pierced, and a lot of blood was evaporated by the hot beam. But the next moment, the arm was visibly repaired, and the terrifying energy beam was suddenly blocked by the flesh, and it could no longer cause any damage to him. Finally, in the high-intensity battle, the energy absorption that was about to be upgraded was once again improved. Energy Absorption Experience +1, congratulations, your skill energy absorption has been upgraded. Energy Absorption LV4, 1/5000, can absorb almost all types of energy, with extremely high absorption speed and energy storage limit. After the energy absorption was upgraded, Sumu's body immediately transformed. The bones and muscle fibers of his whole body were transformed into a state more suitable for storing energy. The limit of energy storage in his body was increased several times, and even his spirit was greatly strengthened, and his energy control became faster and more accurate. The energy beam that was almost unstoppable was like a spring breeze in front of him at this time. The speed of energy absorption was far beyond the speed of the destroyer armor output. However, the destroyer armor controlled remotely by Loki could only exert such strength. Facing Sumu with LV4 energy absorption, he could no longer hurt him. Although other skills were also strengthened to a greater or lesser extent after the energy absorption was upgraded, Sumu was not going to use those skills. He couldn't wait to fight the destroyer armor. Ignoring the scorching energy beam, he tore off the torn shirt on his upper body, revealing his extremely beautiful muscles. Energy Absorption LV4 fully strengthened the body, combined with the powerful physical skills given by the spell Power Manipulation and the panel, as well as the refined control of energy and body by the 6 eyes. Sumu punched in the splashing energy beam. Boom! The more terrifying fist force was amplified to the original 2.5 power by the terrifying red and black lightning, and the destroyer armor was immediately smashed to the ground. When it came into contact with the ground, the residual force spread to the ground, huge cracks continued to appear, the ground quickly sank, and finally formed a huge circular pit with a diameter of hundreds of meters. Traveling through Marvel, Bai only had a numerical panel and a chat group of all heavens. I thought the chat group of all heavens was my golden finger, but I was banned by the omniscient and omnipotent immortal at the beginning. On the contrary, the numerical panel without hope is even more heavyweight. Talent 1, endless. There is no upper limit, no bottleneck, no weakness, and you can become stronger with hard work. Talent 2, Rest of the Strong. For every 1 point of attribute improvement, an additional 0.1 attribute points to be used are added. As long as you exercise, you can increase your physical fitness infinitely like Saitama, but isn't the power of each attribute increase a bit wrong? Question mark. 1 point of strength can't catch a chicken, but 5 points can move at supersonic speed and chase the Hulk all over the street. 20 points can drip blood and rebirth and crush the planet. 50 points, 1 punch to blow up the universe. When the physical fitness shown by each attribute improvement is not linear, but percentage, exponential or even factorial, Bai Yi knows that he is going to make it. Bai Yi, this panel was probably designed by the physical education teacher, right? Good, good, good. Deep Blue, give me a lot of points. In the New York Battle of Avengers 1, Bai Yi punched the Chitauri fleet to pieces, grabbed the scalp of the purple potato spirit and said, "You are called Thanos." Chapter 40 The Terrifying Power of the Virtual Style. After the energy beam, the main attack method, lost its effect, the destroyer armor was no longer Sumyu's opponent. Every time Sumyu attacked, he would absorb the energy from the destroyer's attack and strengthen himself. During the battle, his physical strength was completely consumed and he was always in peak condition. After the energy absorption reached level 4, it was undoubtedly a qualitative improvement. At this time, Sumyu could absorb almost all energy, and even absorb all absorbable energy that was not on direct contact with him within a certain range. Now, except for bioenergy, chemical energy and very few other energies, he can easily absorb and manipulate them. For example, now, looking at the energy beam coming towards him, Sumyu clenched his right hand slightly. When the energy beam approached him, it twisted and quickly formed a long spear with flashing light, and then he pierced into the body of the destroyer and exploded violently. However, this attack is only the most superficial use of energy, and it cannot be compared with the use of skills. The same energy can be used to exert more powerful power. Another black flash hit the destroyer and sent him flying. The destroyer could no longer easily resist Sumyu's attack. The armor on his face was damaged, but it was also recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. After a few minutes, Sumyu finally completely adapted to the energy absorption of level 4. His body instantly disappeared from the spot and came to the destroyer armor, with his palm gently covering his chest. The next moment, the terrifying black and red singularity was released at close range, and the powerful repulsive force broke out in the chest of the destroyer armor. This attack finally penetrated its chest armor, causing great damage to it. Looking at the destroyer armor that was still recovering, Sumyu couldn't help but sigh at the power of this armor made by Odin. The destroyer armor controlled by Loki was completely unable to exert all its power. I really don't know what kind of style the destroyer armor worn by Odin would be. However, Sumyu was tired of playing at this time, and the destroyer armor in front of him could no longer pose the slightest threat to him. Looking at the destroyer armor in front of him, Sumyu took off his sunglasses and threw them aside. He stretched out his left-hand fingers and separated them, and held his right hand and left hand in a hollow position. Looking at the destroyer armor in front of him, the excitement in his eyes reached the extreme. The technique is forward to Kang. A half-human-sized azure black hole first formed on the left side behind him. Reverse the technique. Another black-red singularity of the same half-human size formed on the right side behind him, but it was slightly unstable due to the forced activation. Black lightning continued to escape, destroying everything around it. However, these black lightnings were absorbed by the energy when they approached Sumyu, and could not hurt him at all. Finally, Sumyu made a finger-snapping motion forward and said the name of this powerful ability that required the fusion of two powerful techniques to be used, virtual style. The azure black hole and the black-red singularity overlapped. Under the absolute control of energy absorption level 4 and the guidance of the experience of using the virtual style in the brain, the dark purple false mass sphere was completely formed, and then accompanied by purple lightning, it crashed into the destroyer armor. The dazzling purple light obscured everything around it, making it all dim. The whole world could only see a huge purple sphere moving forward at a high speed, destroying everything around it. In an instant, the terrifying illusion sphere passed through the destroyer armor and continued to move forward, destroying the Gobi Desert along the way, passing through a mountain, until it disappeared at the end of the site. After everything calmed down, Thor and others were stunned and saw a huge gully with a diameter of tens of meters starting from the white-haired demon and spreading to the end of the site. Even the towering mountains in the distance could not stop it in the slightest and were completely penetrated. The indestructible destroyer armor, after facing this attack that was enough to penetrate the space head-on, disappeared completely, and not even a piece of Eurometal was left. In the Asgard god realm, after seeing the last picture sent back by the destroyer armor, Loki's body completely softened. What kind of monster is this? Exclamation mark. In a luxurious room, under a layer of transparent glass, Odin, who was in a deep sleep, suddenly opened his single eye, with deep horror in his eyes. Is it another ancient one? In a mysterious hall somewhere, a kind-looking bald woman put down the tea in her hand, turned her head and looked in a certain direction and whispered, "Has he grown to this extent? He is indeed a mysterious existence in the multiverse that only exists by itself and has no isotopes." In a hidden military base, the scene in the Gobi Desert was photographed by a surveillance satellite and projected on a huge screen hanging on the wall. Colonel Stryker pointed to the huge gully that seemed to divide the entire Gobi Desert in two and shouted angrily, "The white-haired demon has grown to this point. If we don't launch the annihilation plan, then when his strength increases again, there will be no chance to kill him. The entire United States will be ruled by him in the future." Hearing Stryker's words, a general immediately expressed his position, "I agree." Then other senior military generals nodded one after another, "Agree. Agree." After a moment, everyone agreed to carry out the white-haired demon annihilation plan. Seeing this, Colonel Stryker finally smiled. He smiled and said to the generals, "Generals, the white-haired demon suppression device and the sentinels with space-slashing capabilities are fully ready and can be launched at any time." A few minutes later, the supersonic helicopter that had been prepared took off from the military base closest to Sumu and flew towards him at a high speed. At the end of the huge gully, Sumu smiled brightly and looked at the traces left by the virtual style. The LV-1 virtual style should not have such great power. He used the LV-4 energy absorption at this time to forcibly release the more powerful virtual style, which is why he exerted such great power. However, this level of attack is also a great burden for him at this time, so that even he is panting violently, and the energy in his body is almost exhausted. However, under the effect of LV-4 energy absorption, whether it is the light energy of the sun, or the surrounding temperature, and the energy in the arc reactor are all being absorbed by him quickly, so the energy in his body is recovering at a very fast speed. After a while, the energy in his body was close to saturation. At the same time, the two arc reactors floating beside Sumu completely dimmed. The energy in them had been completely absorbed by him. Looking at the two completely exhausted arc reactors, Sumu thought, "It seems that I have to ask Stark for a new arc reactor, and I should also prepare to obtain the space gem. The level 4 energy absorption should be enough to bear the space gem." After a while, after the energy in his body was fully restored, Sumu checked the gains of this battle. First of all, 2 of his skills were upgraded again. Please read and collect! Exclamation mark. Chapter 41 The White Devil walked out of the nuclear explosion. Reversal skill experience +1. Congratulations, your skill reversal skill has been upgraded. Reversal skill level 2, 107, 300, turns the negative energy of the cursed power into positive energy, with a strong healing effect. Reversal skill he experience +1. Congratulations, your skill reversal skill he has been upgraded. Reversal skill he level 3, 19/1000. Generates repulsive force with he as the center, with a minimum power twice that of Kang, and a maximum output of positive infinity, similar to a small supernova. After the high-intensity battle just now, both the reversal skill and the reversal skill he have been upgraded by 1 level. Among them, because of the unlimited skills and the previous enemies could hardly cause any damage to Sumu's body, the reversal skill has not been upgraded. This time, in the battle with the destroyer armor, it is necessary to use the reversal skill to continuously heal the injuries caused by the energy beam, so the reversal skill, which has accumulated a certain amount of experience, has finally been upgraded, and it has also taken a big step towards level 3. The healing effect of the LV2 reversal technique on the body has been greatly enhanced, and the speed of recovery from injuries has been greatly improved. Now the healing speed of the reversal technique plus the recovery speed of energy absorption has reached the level of Wolverine. However, the reversal technique at this time still cannot be used on other people. I think it should be possible when it reaches LV3. Thinking of this, Sumu decided to practice the reversal technique more. After all, When Jane Foster comes to deliver the takeaway, the reversal technique is still needed to take out the reality gem. And Sumu is also looking forward to the effect of reaching a high level of reversal technique. The highest achievement of the reversal technique in the Jujutsu Kaisen is Gyari Glass, who can use the reversal technique to heal others. So when the level of the reversal technique exceeds Gyari Glass and reaches a higher level, what kind of ability will it have? Immortality? Resurrection? Restoring matter to its original state? Or other more magical effects? As for the reversal technique, the power is increased again. With a palm facing up, the curse power surges, and a black and red singularity the size of a basketball appears above Sumu's palm, floating steadily. Throwing out the black and red singularity, accompanied by violent gusts of wind and strong vibrations of the ground, another gully more than 10 meters wide appeared in the center of the huge gully tens of meters wide in front. The power of the reversal of the He technique has increased several times again. Looking at the gully left by the reversal of the He technique in front, Sumu smiled with satisfaction. In addition to the upgrade of the two skills, there are other gains. The lasers fired by the destroyer armor have extremely high energy. After absorbing these energies, Sumu obtains a large number of energy points. At this time, all the energy points are put into the character template, and the fusion degree of the character template has increased from 60% to 67%. If the destroyer armor could not be carried with you at all, and it was not difficult to control, and there was a risk of being troubled by Odin, Sumu would have wanted to use the destroyer armor to continuously absorb energy. However, even if the energy absorption reaches level 4, the arc reactor is still not eliminated. Sumu calculated the current energy absorption speed, and it would take about 5 arc reactors to supply energy together to meet his daily needs. Sure enough, getting the Infinity Stones should be put on the agenda as soon as possible. Just as Sumu was about to return, a sharp roar suddenly came from a distance. After hearing this strange sound, Sumu felt a sudden stagnation in his body, but he recovered instantly under the control of the 6 eyes. His face, which had just regained its calm, became happy again. The fruits he had planted before finally sprouted. A giant missile fell from the sky, and Sumu stood there without moving. It was just a nuclear bomb, nothing more. The kind-hearted people sent energy again. The next moment, a dazzling light suddenly burst out, like the sun falling, and endless light and heat enveloped everything around. In the town far away, Thor and his men suddenly saw a mushroom cloud rising from a distance, and a huge shock wave was about to spread to the town. At this critical moment, Thor finally regained his strength, summoned Thor's hammer, and took Jane Foster and several mortals farther away to avoid the attack. The 4 warriors of Asgard followed closely, and after reaching the safe area, all of them looked at the scene in the distance. The explosion from the most powerful weapon of mankind surprised even Thor. Why was Sumu suddenly attacked by such a powerful weapon? Jane Foster explained for him, Sumu's identity outside is the White Devil. He is being wanted by the authorities. I heard that the authorities have already made a plan against him some time ago. I think this nuclear bomb should be the work of the authorities. Even Sumu can't survive if he is hit by a nuclear bomb head-on. Thor stood up. I want to save him, even if Sumu dies. I want to take back his body. But just as Thor took a step, he suddenly stopped, looking at the shrinking hot flames in front of him and slowly said, "Oh, it seems that I don't need to do anything." In the military base in the distance, many generals can clearly see the situation in the Gobi Desert through monitoring satellites. After seeing the White Devil being directly hit by a nuclear bomb, everyone cheered immediately. Located in the center of the nuclear bomb explosion, even the White Devil can't survive. The world's biggest threat has finally been wiped out, and the White Devil will become history. Contact various media. We must report the news that the White Devil is dead. Let the world know that the White Devil has been killed by the military. When others were cheering for the successful killing of the White Devil, only Colonel Stryker was still staring at the mushroom cloud in the picture. Having dealt with mutants for a long time, and even his own son is a mutant, he has a very good understanding of mutants and knows that mutants may not necessarily have any mutant abilities, especially a mutant as powerful as the White Devil. He is not surprised at all even if he walks out of the center of the nuclear bomb explosion intact. Suddenly, the mushroom cloud in the picture changed. The flames and impact that were originally expanding outwards at a rapid speed suddenly shrank visibly. A large amount of light and heat seemed to be absorbed by the black hole and could not escape at all. The other generals also saw this picture, and the smiles on their faces suddenly stopped, looking at the scene in front of them in disbelief. What happened? The energy generated by the nuclear bomb explosion is being quickly absorbed by something in the center area. Isn't his mutant ability suppressed by the mutant suppression device? Why can he still use it? Oh, God, is he really a human? After a while, all the energy of the nuclear bomb explosion was completely absorbed. There was nothing in the explosion area except a large piece of smoke and dust. Even the melted ground cooled down again. Then a vague figure slowly walked out of the center area of the explosion, came to the area without smoke and dust that the monitoring satellite could see, raised his head and raised a middle finger to the sky. Please read and collect it! Exclamation mark. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42 Sentinel Robot. Seeing this scene, all the generals were silent. The thing they least wanted to see happened. The white-haired demon actually grew to the point where he could withstand a nuclear bomb in a short period of time. In this case, what other means on Earth can harm him? One of the generals suddenly thought of something and asked Colonel Stryker, "Colonel Stryker, why can't the mutant suppression device work on the white-haired demon?" The other generals also found this problem. That's right, if the mutant suppression device is really effective, then even the white-haired demon, after losing his mutant ability, is just an ordinary person, and it is impossible for him to survive a nuclear explosion. At this time, the white-haired demon's mutant ability can still be used, which must be because the mutant suppression device cannot play the role it should be. All the generals cast questioning eyes to Colonel Stryker. Being questioned by many generals, Colonel Stryker was silent for a moment before explaining, "The medium of this mutant suppression device is sound waves. If the sound is deliberately isolated, the effect of the suppression device will be greatly reduced. I think the white-haired demon is immune to the effect of the suppression device in this way. But don't worry, generals, we still have a backup method. It is made with detailed information of the white-haired demon. It is a white-haired demon suppression device that is only targeted at the white-haired demon. The effect of this suppression device is dozens of times stronger than that of ordinary mutant suppression devices. And the medium of the new device is electromagnetic waves, which is almost impossible to be blocked. However, because the range of this device is limited, it was not used immediately just now. But I have installed it on each Sentinel robot. These Sentinel robots not only carry the white-haired demon suppression device, but also copy the space attack capability against the white-haired demon. They will definitely kill the white-haired demon." Hearing Colonel Stryker's subsequent arrangements, many generals showed appreciation for him, and finally put their minds at ease and regained confidence in the plan to kill the white-haired demon. Walking out of the nuclear explosion center, Sumu burped, absorbing all the energy of a nuclear bomb explosion. Even he was almost filled up, and the energy in his body was about to overflow. If it weren't for the ability to continuously convert energy into energy points and put it into the character template, Sumu would not be able to carry all the energy of a large-yield nuclear bomb explosion. Even so, at this moment, he had an impulse to explode and couldn't help but release all the energy in his body. At this time, through the farsightedness of the six eyes, Sumu discovered dozens of strange-looking robots that were constantly approaching, and the boiling power in his body suddenly had a place to display. When those robots just appeared, Sumu recognized that these robots were Sentinel robots designed to annihilate mutants. Sentinel robots can detect any form of mutant abilities, and instantly transform themselves according to these abilities to obtain different types of mutant abilities and achieve targeted effects. However, at this point in time, these Sentinel robots in front of them should be far from reaching the final stage, and should not be able to change the X gene at will to obtain different mutant abilities. Sumu guessed that they should only be able to load 2 or 3 variant abilities at the same time, which would definitely include the ability to attack him from space. However, the space attack that could once break through him, I wonder if it can still break through after the unlimited technique is upgraded to level 3? The surveillance satellite in the sky transmitted the Gobi's images to the military base. Many generals and Colonel Stryker looked at the images in front of them nervously. If this encirclement and suppression failed again, it would mean that they had no way to restrain the white-haired demon anymore. Suddenly, they found that the white-haired demon in the picture took action. Not only did he not escape, but he rushed straight towards dozens of robots. This made many generals and Colonel Stryker extremely excited. What they feared most was that the white-haired demon would escape directly, or attack the Sentinel robot remotely. The range of the white-haired demon's suppression device and space attack was very short, and there was nothing they could do against a long-distance enemy. If the white-haired demon really escaped directly, or attacked from a distance, then the Sentinel robot would be helpless. After the white-haired demon completely entered the range of the inhibitor, Colonel Stryker immediately ordered, "Activate the white-haired demon inhibitor." At the same time, Sumu heard the sound of electricity coming from the Sentinel robot in front of him, and then he felt the energy in his body stagnate for a moment, and then instantly recovered. He immediately realized that this was the influence of the mutant inhibitor, but unfortunately, the mutant inhibitor did not work on him at all. He performed the spell Kang to rotate forward, and the huge gravity connected him with the space in the distance. He took a step across a distance of 100 meters and came to the front of a Sentinel robot. He pressed his palm on the head of the Sentinel robot, and the black and red singularity exploded in his palm. The terrifying repulsive force continued to spread forward. The Sentinel robot whose head was held by Sumu was destroyed first, and the black singularity continued to move forward, destroying more than a dozen Sentinel robots before stopping. The command room in the distance fell into silence again. Stryker looked at the white-haired demon who ignored the inhibitor in disbelief. The white-haired demon destroyed more than a dozen Sentinel robots with just one strike, which made him doubt for the first time whether he could successfully hunt the white-haired demon. Why did the white-haired demon completely ignore the suppression device? You know, it was a special suppression device designed for him according to his ability data. The experimenters even confirmed that this suppression device could suppress the white-haired demon for at least several hours. But what about this time? Not even a second, it has no effect at all. A strong sense of uneasiness enveloped Colonel Stryker, and he could only constantly comfort himself, "It doesn't matter, we still have space attacks. The white-haired demon can't resist space attacks and will definitely be killed by the Sentinel robots." Under his command, the Sentinel robots immediately released space attacks on the white-haired demon. The numerous space attacks were like a dense fishing net, trying to trap the white-haired demon in it and not give him any chance to escape. Facing the many space blades flying towards him at high speed, Sumu did not show any nervousness. This kind of attack that used to threaten him could no longer have any effect on him. The flying speed of the space blade was extremely fast for him in the past, but after the 6 eyes were upgraded to level 3, he could easily catch it. If Sumu wanted to, he could easily dodge it. However, Sumu did not do so. After dodging most of the space blades, he came to the front of the space blade and tried to use the unlimited technique to resist the attack of the space blade. The space blade that can easily break through the LV1 unlimited technique. After entering the range of the LV3 unlimited technique, the speed immediately slowed down and moved forward at a snail's pace. Facing the LV3 unlimited technique, the space blade can no longer easily break through. Looking at the space blade moving at a snail's pace in the unlimited technique, Sumu came to the conclusion that it seems that the LV4 unlimited technique can be completely immune to space attacks. After the experiment, Sumu stretched out his index finger and pointed it at the space blade in front. The azure black hole, the size of a ping-pong ball, and the black and red singularity of the same size merged in front of him, forming an illusion sphere emitting purple thunder, and then rushed forward. The purple illusion sphere instantly annihilated the space blade, and continued to fly forward, annihilating all the Sentinel robots on the path ahead until it disappeared at the end of the sight. Please read and collect it! Exclamation mark. Chapter 43 The White Devil laughing wildly in the ruins. Please read. In just a moment, most of the Sentinel robots were easily destroyed by the White Devil. The Sentinel robots were unable to cause any damage to the White Devil. Even the space attack that Colonel Stryker had high hopes for had no effect, not to mention the other weapons loaded on them. In the projected image, the White Devil continued to slaughter the Sentinel robots. The White Devil was like a white ghost, traveling through the rain of bullets. Whether it was the space blade or other weapons carried by the Sentinel robots, they could not touch him at all. The speed of the White Devil was too fast, and even the most advanced locking technology could not lock him, so most of the ammunition could not play the slightest effect and could only be wasted. In addition, the generals present observed more details. The White Devil did not deliberately avoid the attack, nor did he use that weird space defense ability. He could now withstand the rain of bullets and be unscathed by himself. At most, he just used the purple mysterious sphere to destroy the space blade. His physique has grown to such a degree, and he has mastered another new powerful mutant ability, which can penetrate space. If he can continue to use the purple sphere attack, he may be able to flatten a city in a few minutes. Don't forget that the White Devil has the mutant ability of energy absorption. If there's enough energy for him to absorb, he can definitely do it. No, the plan against the White Devil is cancelled. Even nuclear bombs can't hurt him. He has grown to the point where we can confront him head-on. Agree. Agree. Many generals expressed their opinions. Suddenly one of the generals thought of something. Quick, stop contacting the media. If the media knows that our plan has failed, it will definitely be announced. At that time, the military's credibility will drop significantly. But a communications soldier said to him with a bitter face, "General, we have notified all the media." Looking at the communications soldier in front of him, the general's face turned pale immediately. For the first time, he wanted the soldier's execution to be not too strong. The other generals also heard the signalman's words and realized what was about to happen. The all-pervasive media will definitely find out what happened in New Mexico and know that our plan against the White Devil has failed. Put pressure on the media and prohibit them from publishing any news about the White Devil. We can't block all the news, those journalists are crazy. As soon as one general proposed, another general immediately refuted. The conference room fell into silence again. The incident still developed to the worst situation. The generals present began to regret attacking the White Devil. Colonel Stryker on the side remained silent, but clenched his fists, and his nails even pierced his skin and oozed blood. He kept screaming in his heart, repeating a name, White Devil. Obviously, he would never give up his plan against the White Devil. And if he was willing to take all the risks, then these generals would definitely support him secretly. Now that the Sentinel robot has collected more information about the White Devil, he doesn't believe that the White Devil can still deal with it when the Sentinel robot becomes more and more perfect. Horizontal ellipsis. All the ammunition was completely drained of energy when it approached Sumu, and could not cause any injury to him, but instead gave him a steady stream of energy points. Most of the Sentinel robot's attacks had no effect on him, and only the space blade needed to be avoided. However, the 6 eyes could capture perfectly, and the virtual style could destroy the space blade, so the Sentinel robot, which was enough to make most mutants despair, was just a wooden stake without any resistance in Sumu's eyes. Finally, he swung out a black flash, accompanied by the blooming of black and red thunder, and the last intact Sentinel robot was smashed to pieces by the terrifying force. At this point, all the Sentinel robots were destroyed. All the excess energy in the body was put into the system, and the fusion degree of the character template was increased again, and it had reached 72% at this time. The energy points for increasing the fusion degree of the template by 1% will be greatly increased for every 10%. After reaching 70%, the energy points required for each 1% increase in fusion degree are an astronomical number. If Sumu only relied on absorbing nearby electricity as he did at the beginning, even if he continued to absorb it for several months, it would be difficult to increase the template fusion degree by 1%. At this time, even if he absorbed almost all the energy of the entire nuclear bomb explosion, it only increased by 6%. In this way, even if he absorbed all the energy in an arc reactor, he could not improve the system fusion degree much. However, Sumu's goal was no longer the arc reactor. His goal was the 6 Infinity Stones, especially the Power Stone, which was the source of energy. He must get it. In addition, there were other energies that could be plundered. Whether it was absorbing the energy of a planet like the Celestial Group, or artifacts like the Eternal Fire, they contained great power for Sumu to absorb. So he was not afraid of not having enough energy to unlock the template fusion degree. In addition, Sumu had other considerations. Since his own ability could be upgraded, if he mastered the portal, could he continue to improve it? You must know that just by initially mastering the portal, you can teleport to any location you have been to. Among them, Ned, Spider-Man's good friend in the movie world, can even open the portal next to the designated target. So what realm will the portal reach if it is upgraded again? Travel through time and space? Travel through latitudes at will? Even open portals to other worlds? Sumu is looking forward to this. Since the Marvel world exists, other worlds also have the possibility of existence. If he upgrades the portal to a certain level, he can open portals to other worlds and finally lead to the Jujutsu Kaisen world. then using a stronger move than Gojo Satoru to defeat Gojo Satoru. This is undoubtedly an extremely pleasant thing. Especially saying that classic line in front of Gojo Satoru, "I am the only one in the world." Just thinking about it makes my brain tremble. P.S. How do you feel? After everything was over, Thor and others in the distance began to approach. When they came to the edge of the battlefield, they saw the next scene. The sky was covered with smoke and dust, and countless huge depressions like those caused by falling meteorites were spread all over the land. A large amount of ammunition and missile wreckage were displayed on the sand. In the most central area, at the end of the scar on the earth caused by the purple sphere of terror, in the center of the circular pit left by the nuclear explosion, a familiar yet unfamiliar white demon floated in the air 1 meter from the bottom of the pit. He seemed to be recalling the battle just now, or thinking of something that made him happy. At this time, he was covering his forehead with his right hand, facing the sky, with a smile slowly pulled out from the corner of his mouth, and then gradually expanded into a big laugh, until it was unbridled. Please read and collect it! Exclamation mark. Chapter 44, The Supreme Mage, please read on. Thor and the others immediately stopped, not daring to move forward. Sif, one of the 4 warriors of Asgard, whispered, "What a dangerous guy." The others nodded, agreeing with her words. Seeing Thor and the others approaching, Sumu fell back to the ground, and then heard Thor say, "I plan to leave. There are still things in the gods' domain that need me to deal with." Sumu nodded, smiled and said to Thor, "Thank Loki for me, and urge him to come to Earth to deliver the express." Sumu certainly knew what Thor would face when he returned this time, the invasion of the frost giants, and he would destroy the Rainbow Bridge with his own hands in order to prevent Loki from destroying the frost giants' kingdom, so that he could not return to Earth immediately. However, this also means that Loki is about to fall into the abyss of the universe, and then meet Thanos, who will give him the Mind Scepter, teleport him back to Earth, and plan to use the space cube to open the portal to prepare for the invasion of the Charioteers. The Mind Scepter is also the takeaway that Sumu has been looking forward to for a long time. Although he didn't know what Sumu meant by this, Thor still said, "I will." Then he said goodbye to Jane Foster and promised to come back, and then left with the 4 warriors of Asgard in the colorful light column descending from the Rainbow Bridge. After the light of the Rainbow Bridge completely disappeared, Sumu said to Jane Foster, "Don't forget to ask me for treatment." After saying that, he took a step and disappeared from the sight of Jane Foster and others. He will find Tony, get a new arc reactor, and then return a big gift to the military. The military gave a mushroom, and he also gave them a piece. Isn't it too much? Leaving New Mexico, Sumu flew towards Tony Stark's beach villa at a high speed. After the energy upgrade reached level 4, he can use teleportation to transfer himself continuously without fear of injury. In addition, after the reversal technique reaches level 2, in addition to greatly accelerating the treatment speed, it can also continuously treat brain damage caused by long-term brain use, so that Sumu can maintain the unlimited technique for a long time. And the level 3 unlimited spell can already identify dangers. Objects that pose no threat to him will not be affected by the unlimited spell, while threatening objects will be excluded. It was evening, and the beach villa was brightly lit at night. The party hosted by the world's richest man, Tony Stark, was gorgeous and luxurious. A large number of hot ladies only wore a few pieces of cloth to cover their vital parts, constantly showing themselves at the party, trying to attract the attention of the protagonist. The lights, beauties, and drinks intertwined, making the entire beach villa full of strong hormones. At this time, the beach villa is undoubtedly a paradise for any man. Tony Stark, who was in the middle of the ball, was obviously drunk. He had just urinated in his steel armor and had an argument with Pepper. Later, he used the weapons on the steel armor to shoot at the drinks thrown into the sky by the invited ladies as entertainment. At this moment, a voice broke the lively atmosphere of the party. Colonel Rhodes came out in another steel battlesuit and shouted at everyone in the party, "I'll only say this once, get out." The banquet immediately fell silent, and the hot atmosphere just now disappeared. Everyone looked at Rhodes. Just when Rhodes thought that everyone was about to leave, he suddenly found something wrong. Were the reactions of those people in front a little too intense, as if they would die at any time? But he would not kill them. Suddenly, Rhodes realized that those people's eyes were not looking at him, but behind him. The unconscious trembling and fear of his body were also because of someone behind him. Rhodes immediately realized something, but before he could turn around, A hand with slender fingers and distinct bones pressed on his shoulder. This palm contained terrifying power. Even though he was wearing steel armor at this time, he was still overwhelmed by the huge force and could only kneel on one knee to resist the huge pressure. And the hard ground under his knees also slowly appeared cracks because it could not withstand the huge pressure. Until then, he finally heard the devil-like whisper from behind him, "Colonel Rhodes, how can the party stop? You don't want to make me angry, do you?" Rhodes suddenly felt his body stiff, and his head turned around, and he saw the handsome man with white hair and blue eyes put his hand on his shoulder and smiled at him, but the bright smile contained extreme malice. Colonel Rhodes immediately said from the heart, "I also think the party should not end." The white-haired demon smiled with satisfaction, then walked forward, came to Tony Stark's side, and shouted to the many hot beauties in front of him, "Don't stop, keep playing music and dancing." The hot beauties, whose spirits had long been eroded by alcohol, immediately threw away their fear of the white-haired demon and cheered loudly. The lights continued to flash, and the screams became louder and louder. In addition to the energy attacks from the steel armor, there were also azure black holes and terrifying black and red singularities. Of course, the skills were all under Sumyu's control and would not cause any damage to the surroundings. Tonight is undoubtedly a very beautiful night. It was already the next morning when Sumyu woke up. He got up, dressed, and stepped over a dozen naked bodies lying on the bed or on the floor. Sumyu walked out of the room and came to the lobby of the beach villa. Facing a dozen hungry girls at once, even Sumyu, who had the reversal technique, felt a little overwhelmed. When he walked into the living room, he found Tony waiting there, and some images were projected in front of him, which were the nuclear explosion in New Mexico and the white-haired man who walked out of the nuclear explosion. Hearing the footsteps coming from the side, Tony turned his head and saw the white-haired man yawning, and his eyes were full of horror. Seeing this, Sumyu teased, "What's wrong? Don't look at me like that, my sexual orientation is normal." But compared to Sumyu, Tony did not have this leisure time. He looked at Sumyu in disbelief and asked a question that shocked him, "Were you really hit head-on by a nuclear bomb and walked out of it intact?" Sumyu looked at the projection in front of Tony and grinned, "Of course, it's very simple." "Simple? How did you do it?" "Tony, don't be surprised. Besides me, there are many people who can do it, such as the Sorcerer Supreme of Kamartaj." "Sorcerer Supreme, who is that?" Just as Tony was about to continue asking, a spark suddenly flashed in front of the two of them, and a circular portal that continuously sputtered sparks slowly formed, and finally a bald woman with a kind face walked out of the portal. "Please read, collect, and vote for me!" Exclamation mark. Chapter 45, Sorcerer Supreme Tony Stark? When the bald woman walked out of the portal, even though her appearance was different from that in the movie universe, Sumyu still recognized her identity. The Sorcerer Supreme. The moment he saw the Sorcerer Supreme, Sumyu's muscle fibers tensed up, and he used all his strength to use his spell power and energy to strengthen his whole body. His mind was highly concentrated, and his 6 eyes were operating at the limit, reaching his peak state. Facing a father-level strong man, even Sumyu now dared not relax at all. Tony looked at the bald woman in front of him, and then carefully observed the portal behind her. He suddenly felt that since he openly admitted that he was Iron Man, the whole world had gradually become unfamiliar. First, there was the white-haired demon, then Thor who descended on New Mexico, and the legendary Asgard. At this time, a bald woman in yellow opened the portal and broke into his home. Pretending to take the wine, Tony hid behind Sumyu, then picked up the bottle and poured it into 2 cups, handed 1 cup to Sumyu and kept the other for himself, and said to the bald woman in front of him, "Well, who are you? How did you achieve the light circle behind you? Mutant ability, some kind of technology, or other superpowers?" The Ancient One, who had set his sights on Sumyu as soon as he appeared, finally moved his eyes away from him and set his sights on Tony. Hearing Tony's question, the Ancient One smiled mysteriously, and said calmly and gently, "This is magic." "Okay, magic." Tony immediately believed the Ancient One's words. Since he knew that even the mythical Asgard really existed, it was normal for magic to exist. "So, this wizard, why are you here?" The correct term should be mystic wizard. Ancient One first pointed out the mistake in Tony's words, then turned his eyes back to Sumyu, and then said, "I'm looking for this gentleman." After drinking the precious red wine in the glass, Tony spread his hands and said, "I knew it." Seeing the Supreme Mage mentioning him, Sumyu couldn't remain indifferent. He showed a bright and genuine kind smile and said to the Supreme Mage, "Respected Supreme Mage, what do you want to talk to me about?" Seeing Sumyu's performance, Tony on the side was extremely incredible, especially seeing that the smile that always carried thick malice could be so bright, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. The next moment Tony immediately caught the name mentioned by Sumyu, the Supreme Mage. Could it be that the bald woman in front of him was the Supreme Mage who could also withstand nuclear bombs? Facing two monsters who could withstand nuclear bombs, Tony felt uneasy. It seems that in addition to the white-haired demon armor, the Supreme Mage armor should also be put on the agenda. The Supreme Mage standing opposite Sumyu heard Sumyu's words and smiled at him. "I want you to be the new Supreme Mage, and I can teach you everything I know, as long as you are willing to help me protect the Earth before the next Supreme Mage appears." Sumyu was stunned. He didn't expect that the Supreme Mage actually wanted him to become the Supreme Mage. Did he want to retire early? This thought came to his mind. Without thinking at all, Sumyu immediately refused. "Sorry, I don't plan to become the Supreme Mage." He didn't plan to become the Supreme Mage and protect the Earth. With his time, he would continue to absorb energy and unlock more character templates. He would have surpassed the Supreme Mage and become a powerful existence that he could not match. The Supreme Mage was not surprised. She already knew the result. She just wanted to try it. Her main purpose was not these. The Supreme Mage took out a strange ring with two holes and controlled it to float towards Sumyu. "You seem to have the ability to increase your ability limit. If you can master the portal, you may be able to travel through latitudes at will in the future." Looking at the ring in his hand, Sumyu was a little surprised. He didn't expect to get the ring so easily. He asked the Supreme Sorcerer, "What price do you need to pay for it?" The Supreme Sorcerer shook his head. "You don't have to pay any price, but I suggest that you can travel to parallel universes as soon as possible in the future. After all, the world is so big, you should go and see it." Sumyu's mouth twitched. Although his tone was euphemistic, he certainly heard the Supreme Sorcerer's subtext. "I don't ask you too much, just spare this universe and do more harm to other parallel universes." But this just fits his idea. He has too many things he wants to witness, such as the extermination of the Zerg, the attack event, the loss of the universe, the infinite war, etc. The greatest charm of the Marvel world is the infinite possibilities in the infinite parallel universes. He can't be bound by a parallel universe. Seeing that Sumyu accepted the ring and completed the purpose of this trip, the Supreme Sorcerer wanted to leave, but was stopped by Sumyu. "Supreme Sorcerer, what do you think of Tony as the Supreme Sorcerer?" With his brain, he can easily do it. Tony Stark didn't expect Sumyu to suddenly mention him and actually wanted him to become the Supreme Sorcerer. Now even Tony was a little overwhelmed and pointed at himself and said, "Me." Sumyu pushed Tony in front of the Supreme Sorcerer, and then said to him, "Don't you think that the collision of technology and magic can bloom more brilliant sparks?" Tony thought seriously and nodded. "It's just that the power of technology is almost difficult to deal with a terrifying existence like Sumyu, and the technology tree needs time to climb, and it is difficult to get more powerful power immediately. So at this time, borrowing magic and combining it with technology may be a brand new way out." At the same time, the Supreme Sorcerer looked at Tony Stark, the genius and playboy in the eyes of the world. But her eyes were empty, as if she was not looking at Tony in front of her, but looking at the future under the long river of time. After a while, the Supreme Sorcerer smiled. "This gentleman will be an excellent Supreme Sorcerer." Sumyu smiled. He knew that the Supreme Sorcerer agreed. After Sumyu's proposal, Tony left with the Supreme Sorcerer and went to Kamartaj to learn magic. Sumyu was very confident that Tony could learn magic. After all, he was the Supreme Sorcerer in a certain universe. And the Supreme Sorcerer did not reject this proposal, which also meant that Tony should be very talented. Carrying a backpack, Sumyu paced in the air and flew straight to Washington. There were a total of 10 arc reactors in the backpack, enough for Sumyu to use temporarily. When the energy of these arc reactors was exhausted, he must have obtained the Infinity Stones. With level 4 energy absorption, Sumyu's speed at this time exceeded Mach 10. It only took more than 10 minutes to fly from Black Coast, San Diego, California to Washington. And his destination was the White House, the political center of the United States. In order to thank the military for the gift, he returned the gift. But when he approached the White House, he found that the White House had already fallen into chaos. Please read and collect. Chapter 46 Lingering Blood. In the square in front of the White House, two groups of people were confronting each other. They held banners and conveyed their own ideas. Some of them shouted, "Incompetent officials, you are wasting taxpayers' money. The plan to kill the White Devil must be re-implemented. The White Devil is the biggest threat to mankind. Oppose the treaty to liberate mutants." In contrast to this group of people, another group of people retorted, "Liberate mutants. Mutants are no different from humans. They are also part of humanity. No need to make boring sacrifices. We can never be the opponent of the White Devil. The White Devil can now withstand nuclear bombs and will be stronger in the future. He is an angel who has come down to earth and a god on the world. If you continue to target the White Devil, it will be the real road to destruction." To Sumyu's surprise, most of the people who supported the treaty to liberate mutants had white hair on their heads and wore the white coat he wore when he was first reported. Several of the people who played him look very similar to him, with almost the same hairstyle, height, and body shape, and even wore blue beauty contact lenses. If it weren't for the 6 eyes that could detect slight differences, Sumyu would have thought that an unknown force had created a copy of him. Moreover, through the perception of the 6 eyes, there were many mutants who supported the treaty to liberate mutants. According to the energy vision, Sumyu even found Mystique among several people who looked like him, and found other X-Men members in the outer periphery. What's going on? Isn't Mystique a member of the Brotherhood of Mutants? Why did she join the X-Men again at this time? Could it be that she was persuaded by Professor X again? The more Sumyu thought about it, the more possible it was. Mystique was not as full of hatred for humans as Magneto. She was just disappointed with humans and thought that human promises were unreliable, so she joined the Brotherhood of Mutants. I think the government wanted to issue a treaty to liberate mutants because he was afraid of his revenge, so he rejoined the X-Men. But what the hell are these imitators? Sumyu didn't think that his image outside was that good, but at this time he had so many supporters. So he directly asked a lady in front of him who was also cosplaying as the White Devil, "Why do you cosplay as the White Devil and support the treaty to free mutants?" The girl turned around and her eyes lit up. The gentleman in front of her was the cosplayer who was closest to the White Devil she had ever seen, and even the temperament was almost exactly the same. As for whether the gentleman in front of her was the White Devil himself, she had never considered this aspect. Because of Sumyu's handsome appearance, although his question was a bit strange, the lady still answered, "Of course it's because the White Devil is handsome." The other companions of the lady also noticed the situation here. When they saw Sumyu, their faces lit up and they immediately surrounded him. They also heard Sumyu's question just now, and while rubbing their white and soft skin against him, they answered his question. "The White Devil is very handsome, he is very charming." That's right. Sumyu was full of black lines, which was in line with the thoughts of the crazy girl. He calmly used the unlimited technique to push aside the crazy girls who wanted to take advantage of him, and continued to ask, "Is there no other reason?" At this time, a young man with acne was looking at Sumyu enviously surrounded by many hot girls. Hearing Sumyu's question, he interrupted and analyzed, "Of course there are other reasons. Now the White Devil can survive the explosion of nuclear bombs. Humans have no way to destroy him. If nothing unexpected happens, the world will be ruled by the White Devil in the future. And when the White Devil rules the world, with his personality, he will definitely clean up the previous opponents and those who have attacked him. We support the White Devil in advance, so that we can survive the cleanup." Hearing the young man's words, Sumyu was speechless. How could he not know that he was going to rule the world? He didn't have the leisure to do that. But he didn't explain, just nodded and smiled slightly, and walked forward. Ignoring the requests of several girls behind him to add contact information, he walked straight through the crowd and walked towards the entrance of the White House. As he moved forward, the girls behind him stopped talking, and the noisy arguments beside him gradually disappeared. It only took a few seconds for the surroundings to go from noisy to silent. The unlimited technique slowly opened, and the dense crowd around him was pushed away, unable to get close to him. Some of the people who were pushed away wanted to turn around and scold him, but before he started, they were blown away by the terrifying repulsion and knocked down a group of innocent marchers. More and more people around noticed this seemingly different white-haired man, and his position immediately changed from a remote corner to the center of sight, attracting countless eyes. The bodies of the girls who communicated with Sumyu at the beginning kept trembling. Looking at the scene in front of them, they didn't know whether they were excited or scared. The girl who was questioned by Sumyu was even more dull. Because she was too excited, she could only mutter to herself, "He is really a white devil. He's really a white devil." At the junction of the two groups, the leaders of several organizations saw this scene and immediately stopped communicating. Whether they were supporters of the White Devil and wanted to have a chance of survival in the subsequent purge, or opponents who opposed the treaty to liberate mutants and wanted to kill the devil immediately and eliminate the threat, they dared not speak out anymore. Just like Ryougi all along, when the White Devil had not appeared in front of them, they communicated freely, fearless whether they supported or opposed. But when the White Devil appeared in front of them, they no longer had any courage, fearing to attract the attention of the White Devil. There was even a dark color under the crotch of the leader of the opponents that continued to expand until an unknown liquid dripped onto the ground. But fortunately, the White Devil did not pay attention to any of them, but walked to the front of the White House, facing the fully armed soldiers who had assembled at an unknown time, and dozens of sentinel robots. He slowly floated up, stood in the void, and smiled sarcastically, looking down at everything in front of him. Looking down at the political center of this country, looking down at the supporters behind him, whether they supported or opposed. He was about to say something, but suddenly nodded his forehead, then smiled apologetically. "Sorry, wait a minute, I forgot something." The next moment, he suddenly disappeared and appeared in front of the leader of the opponents. Then, under the gaze of all the other marchers, under the loud stop of the X-Men who kept rushing over, he stretched out his hand in front of the leader of the opponents, in front of the trembling body of the leader of the opponents. Then, the terrifying repulsive force burst out with black lightning, destroying everything in front. First, the body of the leader of the opponents was shattered in vain and turned into powder, followed by everything behind him, all the voices of opposition, all the different words, slowly dissipated with a red mist. Just as Sumu said to Professor X at the beginning, the existence of different voices is only because the strength is not strong enough. After solving everything, Sumu used repulsion to splash the blood floating around, dyeing the surrounding large area red, as well as the faces of the supporters and the X-Men who came. Sumu ignored the screams of fear and the loud questions of the X-Men behind him, and did not care about the lingering blood behind him. Instead, he returned to his original position, still floating in the air, and grinned at the front against a background like hell. "Sorry to have kept you waiting, My Excellency the President. P.S. What do you think of using the portal to go to DC? Please read and collect it. And what do you think of going to DC? Chapter 47 I Give You Face." Under the terrifying repulsive force, not even a piece of flesh and blood was left on the mortal body. A large area of blood lingered in front of the White House like fog, emitting a pungent smell of blood that could not be dissipated for a long time. The original supporters screamed when they saw the scene in front of them, and some even fainted on the ground because of fear. In this context, the White Devil stood on the air, ignoring the soldiers in front of him, and announced to the president inside the White House, "The White Devil is coming." Many soldiers in front were ready, looking seriously at the White Devil standing in the void in front of them like a god. Although they were fully armed, they had no sense of security and never had the idea of defeating the White Devil. Whether it was the terrifying repulsive force that destroyed everything with just a casual blow, or any of the previous brilliant achievements, it showed that the White Devil was not something they could fight against. Some soldiers also trembled slightly. Even if they had been on the battlefield and seen hell on earth, how could they have seen the scene in front of them? The White Devil and the blood mist stood in the air. The breeze in front of them was mixed with a thick smell of blood, and swept towards them with the purest malice, wanting to drown them all. If it continues, I believe these well-trained soldiers are also very likely to escape. They are also human beings, and they are also afraid of death, especially when facing an enemy that is simply invincible in front of them, and facing the next battle that is impossible to win. The president in the White House also noticed the arrival of the White Devil at this time, and he immediately realized something. The White Devil is coming. He is definitely here to retaliate against the military's attack on him some time ago. Damn it, what should I do? The president did not escape, because according to intelligence, the White Devil has a flight speed of more than Mach 10, has extremely long-range attack capabilities, and has a wide range of perception capabilities. When the White Devil appeared, he had already locked him. As long as he dared to escape, then only death would greet him. Suddenly, the president thought of something, so he immediately said to his assistant who was at a loss, "Notify the X-Men and ask them to stop the White Devil. Otherwise, once I am killed by the White Devil, it will never be possible to issue the treaty to liberate mutants." Even if they did not receive the president's warning, the X-Men would never let the White Devil do whatever he wanted. But when they wanted to stop him, it was too late. Black thunder burst out, blood filled the surroundings, and the surroundings instantly became a hell on Earth. Professor X looked at the picture in the distance, and his heart sank immediately. This time the White Devil killed hundreds of civilians. Even if it was handled properly afterwards, it would be difficult to issue the treaty to liberate mutants. Looking at the White Devil who was provoking the White House, the president, the entire US government and the official, Professor X's face was solemn, and he said in a deep voice in the minds of the X-Men, "We must not let the White Devil kill the president, otherwise the gap between mutants and humans can never be eliminated, and they can only be in opposition forever." Hearing Professor X's words, many X-Men rushed towards the White Devil. Among them, Storm flew directly in the air and questioned the White Devil, "Why are you doing this? Do you know that this will make the relationship between mutants and humans even more tense?" The White Devil ignored him. Then Cyclops arrived nearby, and he also questioned the White Devil, "Why, as a mutant, you want to hinder the promulgation of the treaty to liberate mutants?" The White Devil ignored him. Mystique walked out of the crowd and changed into her original appearance. She shouted hatefully at the White Devil in the sky, "You have destroyed our decades of efforts, you have destroyed the future of countless mutants. You are unforgivable." But the White Devil still did not answer, but just looked ahead with an indifferent expression, ignoring her anger, not caring about the future of mutants, just standing high in the sky. Cyclops could no longer tolerate the White Devil's condescending attitude. He took off his glasses, and the hot beams from different dimensions used his eyes as a channel to vent infinitely outward. At the same time, Storm also activated her ability, and a strong wind blew around her. The sky immediately became gloomy, and violent thunder struck from the sky, attacking the White Demon. However, even in the face of these attacks, the White Demon still did not react, and let these attacks fall on him. Seeing this scene, Cyclops showed excitement on his face. He did not expect that the White Demon was so arrogant that he completely ignored their attacks. Now the originally small chance of winning will be greatly improved. Facing the almost impossible to defeat the White Demon, they finally have a good chance of winning. He immediately increased the output of the laser beam, trying to seriously injure the White Demon at once, and Storm did the same. But completely opposite to them, Professor X in the distance saw this scene, and Fifen did not relax, but became more solemn. Because he thought of the White Demon's ability to grow infinitely, and the mutant ability that was almost exactly the same as the previous terrifying enemy. Could it be? The next moment, the laser beam and violent lightning hit the White Demon, and then under the shocked eyes of someone, the hit White Demon was not damaged at all. Whether it was the violent thunder or the scorching laser, after approaching the White Demon for a few meters, it dimmed visibly and finally sank into the body of the White Demon. All these energies were actually absorbed by the White Demon. Professor X in the distance finally confirmed his guess that the mutant ability absorbed by the White Demon's energy had also undergone a transformation, and at this time it had evolved to a level comparable to the Black Emperor, or even more powerful than the Black Emperor. Sumu ignored the attack behind him. After all, although the energy of the two power banks was small, it could not be wasted. He took a step forward, and the violent repulsive force spread rapidly from his body to the front, first to the lawn, then the fountain, the floor, the soil, and finally to the fully armed soldiers. The next moment, accompanied by a huge roar, the debris of dust and grass intertwined, accompanied by the vast blood color, and dissipated in the wind stirred by the terrifying repulsive force. No. Seeing this scene, Cyclops was emotional. Because of his out-of-control emotions, his mutant ability was several times stronger, but the laser beam, which was several times thicker, could only replenish the energy of the White Demon and still could not hurt him at all. The X-Men faced the White Demons just like ordinary people faced them, weak and powerless. This is the essential difference. At this moment, Sumu suddenly felt a powerful energy rising from behind him. The energy was both destructive and vital. It was obviously broken, but still majestic. He felt that the power ignored energy absorption and directly decomposed his body. Although the decomposition speed was too slow and could not pose any threat to him, it still attracted the interest of the demon. He finally turned around slowly and looked at the Phoenix girl with gradually crimson eyes in the distance, and smiled brightly. "I give you face. Please read and collect it!" Exclamation mark. Chapter 48, Shinra Heavenly Expedition. X looked at the scene in front of him with a serious face. Even the attacks of Cyclops and Storm had no effect on the White Demon. Instead, they continuously provided him with energy. Now only one of them could stop the White Demon. Entering the consciousness of Phoenix Girl through telepathy, Professor X said to Phoenix Girl, "Jean, release your power, don't be afraid of it, use your power to defeat the White Demon." Phoenix Girl's eyes gradually turned red, and her body slowly floated up. The Phoenix Force from the original universe gradually revived in her body, which could decompose everything. The flame representing life and emotion burned from her body. The surrounding matter was affected by the Phoenix Force and immediately dissipated quickly. The powerful force from the Phoenix Force could decompose any matter. Even the powerful White Demon was no exception, and his body was also decomposing. This time, the White Demon who ignored everything finally couldn't ignore it and looked at Phoenix Girl. Seeing this scene, the X-Men and others gained confidence. Just like Apocalypse in the past, the White Demon would also turn into ashes in front of Jean. Sumu turned around and saw Jean Grey, whose Phoenix Force was gradually awakening. It was obvious that the energy absorption of level 4 was not enough to resist the ability of the Phoenix Force to decompose matter. His body was slowly dissipating, and as time passed, the speed of dissipation was still accelerating. However, Sumu was not worried. He smiled brightly at Jean Grey, then pointed his index finger at Jean Grey. The terrifying black and red singularity formed in an instant and flew towards Jean Grey in an instant. The black and red singularity tore through everything along the way and rushed towards Jean Grey with an unstoppable momentum. Faced with such a powerful attack, Phoenix Girl could no longer care about Sumu, but hid all her strength on the black and red singularity in front of her. The black and red singularity, which was comparable to a small supernova, began to dissipate rapidly and disappeared before it approached her. Seeing this scene, the X-Men and others became more confident, but the next moment, the smiles on their faces stopped immediately. At the moment when the black and red singularity just disappeared, the White Devil disappeared from the spot without knowing when, appeared in front of Jean, and then suddenly punched out. Boom! Black and red lightning burst between the two, and the telekinesis from the Phoenix Force collided with a black flash, and the ground immediately shattered. The huge aftermath caused the ground to sink rapidly, and finally formed a huge deep pit. Such a terrifying power, even Professor X in the distance was affected, but with a figure passing quickly, everyone was transported to distance. Quicksilver rushed over with other X-Men, and put Professor X, Storm and Cyclops in a safe place. Then he put down his goggles and looked at the two people fighting in the distance and exclaimed, "Holy shit!" Sumu was not surprised that the Black Flash was stopped once. If he couldn't stop the Black Flash, then it wouldn't be the Phoenix Force. And the reason why he used the Black Flash was just to put himself in the zone state. After entering the zone state, whether it is energy, spell power or body coordination, it is exerted to the extreme, reaching the original 120% state. Once again, the Black Flash hit the telekinetic shield of the Phoenix Girl, and the amplified Black Flash was no longer something that the Phoenix Girl, who had not yet fully awakened, could resist. Like the piercing sound of broken glass, the telekinetic shield was cracked by the Black Flash. Then Sumu changed his fist into a palm, and a black singularity quickly formed in his palm. The black-red singularity comparable to a small supernova instantly shattered the telekinetic shield and rushed towards Phoenix. Facing such a close attack from the black-red singularity, Phoenix was unable to completely decompose it and was about to be hit by it. At this moment, Wolverine used the laser of Cyclops and the storm of Storm to help him accelerate himself and quickly blocked Phoenix. He wanted to help Phoenix resist the damage caused by the black-red singularity. But even with the adamantium alloy, he could not resist a black-red singularity that had shrunk by half. He was instantly knocked out and hit Phoenix behind him. Then, with a sound of broken bones, he broke through layers of houses and disappeared into layers of ruins. No! Cyclops roared. Why did he fall into such a state in an instant when he was on the verge of victory just now? Even with Wolverine as a shield, it would be difficult for Phoenix, a mortal, to survive such a terrifying attack. He tried his best to use a huge and thick laser beam that was far more powerful than usual, but it was useless. After approaching the White Demon, the laser beam was completely absorbed by it. Looking at the many X-Men in front of him, Sumu's face became more and more happy, and then he stretched out his palm and pointed forward, thinking of an anime move that he liked very much in his previous life, Shinra Tensei. The technique was reversed and he was overloaded again. Accompanied by the black and red lightning that was surging everywhere due to instability, the unprecedented terrifying repulsive force spread rapidly from Sumu to the distance. All matter was annihilated by the terrifying repulsive force, and in the blink of an eye, there was only a ruin in front of him for thousands of meters. Even Sumu felt a little pressure from this attack, and the energy in his body was consumed by half. 5 arc reactors flew out of his backpack and flew around him slowly. A large amount of energy was absorbed by him, and the energy in his body was quickly restored. Ignoring the X-Men who didn't know whether to live or die in the distance, Sumu slowly walked towards his goal. After casually dealing with dozens of first-generation Sentinel robots, he put his hands in his pockets and walked towards the interior of the White House without any hurry. During the process of moving forward, he felt different spying sights more than once, smiled brightly in the familiar direction of the spying from the surveillance satellite, and then continued to move forward. The White House had been damaged by the battle, and even the poor president was crushed by the rocks. Seeing Sumu coming, the poor president immediately showed a look of horror and begged for mercy. "No, don't kill me. The plan to attack you is not something I can stop." Sumu did not answer, but came to the president who was crushed by the rocks, looked at him and said, "Tell me the location of other senior military officials." Hearing Sumu's words, the president immediately knew his purpose and explained immediately, "I don't know. After you walked out of the nuclear bomb explosion, they concealed their whereabouts. Even I don't know their location." Tisk, how disappointing. Sumu continued to ask, "Then you should know their appearance and other information besides their location." I know. The president, who wanted to get a glimmer of hope, immediately told Sumu the location of all the generals' information, and Sumu got the information of those generals in a few moments. Seeing the smile on the White Devil's face, the president mustered up the courage and said carefully, "Can you let me go?" The White Devil did not reply to him, just gave him a smile, and then stepped out and disappeared in the almost ruined White House. Seeing the White Devil disappear, the president breathed a sigh of relief and said slowly, "Finally I survived." But before he could finish his words, a terrifying purple imaginary sphere fell from the sky with dazzling thunder. In an instant, the White House completely disappeared, leaving only a huge circular pit with no bottom. Please read and collect it! Exclamation mark. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49, Restarting the White Devil Plan, Phoenix Girl Masters the Phoenix Power. The falling purple illusion sphere penetrated the space and annihilated the entire White House. The political center of the United States, one of the national symbols, and the iconic building with hundreds of years of history disappeared in an instant, leaving no trace except for the bottomless pit. After the incident just happened, all the senior military officials got the news. They were in a hidden military base, watching the footage taken by the surveillance satellite. From the moment the White Devil appeared, to the terrifying blood color that lingered in the entire White House for a long time, to the fight between the White Devil and the X-Men, the terrifying aftermath of the battle, and the terrifying repulsion that destroyed thousands of meters of area. Until the end, the White Devil raised his middle finger to the sky with a sneer, and casually solved dozens of Sentinel robots, entered the White House, killed the president, and used the terrifying purple illusion sphere to destroy the White House with hundreds of years of history. They were undoubtedly angry. This was a provocation to the entire United States. But they were more afraid. Now the White Devil can survive intact under the nuclear bomb, and they no longer have the means to kill the White Devil. Especially now that the White Devil has launched a revenge and obtained their information from the incompetent president, coupled with the White Devil's extraordinary reconnaissance ability. As long as they are willing to spend time, they will definitely be able to find them one by one and kill them. No, the plan against the White Devil must be started again. We have been fighting him to the death, and he will not let us go. During the internal meeting of these generals, a general said with fear on his face. Another general was equally terrified. He recalled the unprecedented tragedy that happened in the White House, and recalled the surveillance satellite standing on the ground looking up at the sky, which seemed to be looking down at their White Devil. Even his soul was constantly trembling. We must fully support Colonel Stryker's research. He has a deep research on mutants, especially the Sentinel robots that can have multiple mutant abilities. There is definitely a huge room for development. It is not impossible to compete with the White Devil in the future. But in the previous battle, it has been proved that the Sentinel robots are not the opponents of the White Devil. Another general said with a sad look and no confidence. The general who wanted to support Stryker immediately retorted, "No, today's Sentinel robots are only the initial stage, and the final stage of the Sentinel project is that the Sentinel robots can copy the abilities of mutants, store these abilities and pass them on to all other Sentinel robots. And they can use different mutant abilities to target mutants according to their abilities." But the other generals were still not optimistic, but the White Devil's strength can no longer be defeated by numbers. His mutant abilities are almost not rigid. Whether it is long range or close combat, whether it is attacking or saving lives, they have reached the peak of mutants. Even if the Sentinel robots collect all the mutant abilities in the world, even if there are more Sentinel robots, they cannot pose a threat to the White Devil. Repulsive attacks alone are enough to easily eliminate them. No. The general retorted, the Sentinel project has a final vision, which is that the Sentinel robots can increase the upper limit of mutant abilities. If we can increase the upper limit of space attacks, we can break the White Devil's unsolvable defense. If we can increase the upper limit of the Iron Body's abilities, we will not be afraid of the White Devil's attacks. And we found an extremely special person, whose mutant ability is to erase all mutant abilities around him. Even if this ability cannot affect the White Devil now, as long as its limit is raised, it will definitely work on the White Devil. But this is just a hypothesis. It is almost impossible to achieve this level with our technology. The other generals retorted. The general who proposed to support Colonel Stryker smiled mysteriously, then clapped his hands, and two people walked into the meeting room from outside the door. One of the two people was a man with tattoos all over his body, looking like a local hooligan, while the other person looked very strange, with a strange green skin and a head several times larger than that of an ordinary person. Many generals were familiar with the first one, who was the terrorist who attacked Tony Stark in a car race some time ago. It seemed that his name was Ivan Vanko, and they didn't know the other one. Seeing the other generals casting questioning glances at him, the general who supported Colonel Stryker smiled confidently. "Believe me, Dr. Sten and Dr. Wanko will never let you down." Outside the door, Colonel Stryker ordered the Master of Imagination to end his control over the generals, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. "White Devil, stay tuned." In the hidden laboratory of Xavier's School for Gifted Youth, Jean Grey was using the initial Phoenix Force to continuously repair Cyclops' body. In the battle with the White Devil, she was easily defeated by the White Devil. After being blown away by the terrifying black and red singularity, she was about to die, but she mastered part of the Phoenix Force at the critical moment and survived. Afterwards, Quicksilver rescued all of them, but even with Quicksilver's speed, he couldn't take them out intact. Except for Wolverine, who has a self-healing factor and an adamantium skeleton, everyone else was more or less seriously injured. Most of Cyclops' body was destroyed by the terrifying repulsive force. If Jean Grey hadn't used the Phoenix Force to repair his body immediately, Cyclops would have died. Others also lost some limbs, but they recovered quickly under the Phoenix Force. Professor X's lower body was restored using the material reorganization ability, and the X-Men and others were all recovered. But even so, they still didn't feel happy. The whole laboratory was filled with a heavy atmosphere. The White Demon was like a gloomy sky, pressing on the X-Men, making them unable to breathe. Cyclops suddenly punched the wall at the side. As he collided with the wall, red blood slowly flowed down the pure white wall. Shockwave is dead, Darwin is dead, and a large number of civilians are also dead. The treaty to liberate mutants will never be promulgated. All our previous efforts were in vain. Our dream is like a joke in front of the White Devil. Kill him, we must kill him. This time, even Professor X did not come out to stop them. They were full of hatred for the White Devil at this time. The White Devil was not only their enemy, but also a huge stumbling block for the peaceful coexistence of mutants and humans. But they fell silent immediately. With the power of the White Devil, how could they kill him? Everyone looked at Jean Grey. At this time, she had already mastered a part of the power of the Phoenix. It was absolutely possible for her to fully master the power of the Phoenix in her body, and it was very likely that she would obtain more fragments of the power of the Phoenix. This was their only hope. Please read and collect it! Exclamation mark. Chapter 50, Unlimited Technique Level 4. Tens of thousands of meters above the sky, inside a huge aircraft carrier, Nick Fury looked at the images sent by the surveillance satellite in front of him, his eyes deep. Coulson was beside him, Reporting to Nick Fury about the disappearance of the White House, the white-haired demon first killed hundreds of opponents, then killed dozens of soldiers, and then killed tens of thousands of civilians in the battle with the X-Men, and finally destroyed the White House. The white-haired demon is definitely not suitable to be an Avenger. All previous plans for the white-haired demon have been cancelled. There is no law in his eyes, he does whatever he wants, and he is the biggest threat to the Earth now. After listening to Coulson's report, Nick Fury made the following conclusion. Coulson naturally knew this problem, but now SHIELD has no way to deal with the white-haired demon. Just when Nick Fury wanted to take out the pager he carried with him and call Captain Marvel, he suddenly heard Coulson say, "Aren't there still the legendary Eternals protecting humans on Earth? If it was before, it would be fine, but now the white-haired demon is killing tens of thousands of people at a time. Those Eternals who take it as their mission to protect humans will definitely not sit idly by. We can use them to deal with the white-haired demon." The existence of the Eternals has been recorded in the database of S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury is also wary of this group of superhumans with extremely strong superpowers. Because he doesn't believe that these Eternals are simply protecting humans, they must have other secrets. However, if the Eternals and the white-haired demon come into conflict, it will undoubtedly be 100 benefits and no harm. So Nick Fury cast an admiring look at Coulson and said to him, "Find a way to tell the Eternals what the white-haired demon did, attract their attention, and lure them to attack the white-haired demon." At the same time, in another office of the space carrier, Alexander Pierce stared at the unscrupulous and powerful demon in his sight, his eyes shining. He thought this was an opportunity. Hydra and the unscrupulous white-haired demon were a perfect match. So he secretly sent a message to try to contact the white-haired demon and win him over. Turning the White House into history and wiping it off the map, Sue-Mu came to live in Tony Stark's luxurious seaside apartment and continued to practice his skills. Now that he has made such a big fuss, it must be that the relationship with S.H.I.E.L.D. has been broken, and it is impossible to know the specific location of the space cube, so that he can't forcibly seize the space cube for the time being. Now he can only wait for Loki to come and deliver the express. At this time, Tony went to study with the Supreme Sorcerer, and he didn't know when he would come back, so that the seaside villa was empty and no one lived in it, so he occupied the magpie's nest and lived here. During this time, he had no free time. While constantly absorbing the energy of the arc reactor, he was also practicing the unlimited spell and trying to master the portal. However, his talent in the field of magic was obviously not as good as Doctor Strange. Even with a blessing of 6 eyes and energy absorption, he still could not master the portal. However, at this time, he could already draw sparks, and he must be close to fully mastering the portal. As for the unlimited spell, the reason why he focused on practicing the skill was that he found that the advanced unlimited spell could control space and even create a pocket space. Sue-Mu now needs to use a backpack to carry 10 arc reactors, so the pocket space is quite necessary for him. It's not just because it would be very convenient to have a pocket space, but also because he is too uncool now. As a handsome and elegant white-haired demon, carrying a backpack during battle will affect his appearance. Not elegant at all. The unlimited technique continued to open, controlling the 5 arc reactors to slowly move around Sue-Mu, and the system kept sending out upgrade sounds. Energy point +1, energy point +1, energy point +1, unlimited technique experience +1, unlimited technique experience +1, unlimited technique experience +1. Finally, after continuous practice, the system sent out different upgrade sounds. Unlimited technique experience +1, congratulations, your skill unlimited technique has been upgraded. Unlimited technique LV4, 3/5000, interfere with atomic level matter, dominate space. The closer the object is to the user, the slower it will be, and it will never touch the user, and it has partial control over space. A large number of memories came from his mind. Under the amplification of the 6 eyes, Sue-Mu continued to absorb these memories and completely consumed them. At the same time, he continued to use the reversal technique to repair his brain that was damaged by overuse. After a moment, Sue-Mu absorbed all the memories, and he immediately discovered the difference of the unlimited technique. The system's description of the unlimited technique has changed, with an additional explanation that it has partial control over space. As for the performance of the skill effect, first, The range of the unlimited technique has increased from the original 50 centimeters to the current distance of about 5 meters, which has expanded tenfold. Then the unlimited technique has a more absolute control over space. Within this 5-meter range, in addition to the original ability, Sumu can also control space to undergo a variety of changes. These include instant movement, space creation, space slashing, space folding, etc. At this time, his unlimited technique has completely surpassed Gojo Satoru and reached a new realm. After digesting the memory transmitted by the system, Sumu immediately used the unlimited technique to create a pocket space and put 10 arc reactors into it. Because this empty bag space was created by him, he can absorb the energy of the arc reactors in the pocket space. In addition, Sumu has new gains. Perhaps because of the upgrade of the unlimited technique, his understanding of space has become more profound. The originally obscure and difficult to understand portal magic for him is now extremely clear. He feels that he has mastered the portal at this time. Without hesitation, Sumu immediately put on the hanging ring and waved his fingers. With the splashing sparks, a stable portal slowly formed in front of him. At the same time, a new skill appeared on the system panel. Portal LV1, 1/100, consume magic power to open a portal to any location you have been to before. Magic power can be replaced by energy. After successfully mastering the portal, the system finally included this skill, so that Sumu can upgrade this skill and continuously increase the upper limit of the portal. LV1 can go to any place you have been to before. LV2 can abandon the hanging ring and open the portal with your own ability without the help of any external objects. LV3 can go to any area of the current dimension universe. LV4 can go to other dimensions and achieve dimensional jump. When the level of the portal reaches LV5, or even higher, it will sooner or later be able to teleport the world barrier and go to other worlds. Sumu is looking forward to it. Fighting against Superman, fighting against Sun Wukong, telling his countrymen that he is a hero, and performing unlimited magic in front of Gojo Satoru. Various wonderful worlds are waiting for him. At this moment, the Six Eyes caught something, and several agents in black clothes rushed to the beach villa. Sumu showed a more pleasant smile on his face, and there was fun again. Please read and collect it! Exclamation mark. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.